The winter night in Chicago was unforgiving. Hannah Miller stood alone at the bus stop, her breath forming small clouds in the frozen air, clutching a bag of school supplies she'd bought with her own money. She had just endured something that cuts deeper than any cold wind. Public humiliation from the very people who should have understood her struggles. "Oh my God, is that Hannah?" Melissa's voice had rung out across the parking lot, dripping with false concern. "Girl, what are you still doing here, waiting for the bus, in this weather?" Hannah had forced a smile, her voice barely audible over the wind. "Just waiting. It should be here soon." "You know what you should do?" Tara had added, her tone making it sound like genuine advice, even though it felt like a knife. "Get yourself on one of those payment plans. Even on a teacher's salary, you could finance something." They'd driven away laughing, leaving Hannah alone in the bitter cold. But someone was watching, someone who couldn't just walk away, a man who saw not just her struggle but her dignity, her strength, her worth. What happened next would change everything, not just for her, but for a man who had everything money could buy, yet nothing that truly mattered. Because sometimes the most powerful transformations begin with the simplest act of human kindness on the coldest of nights. If this story touches your heart, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments, where are you listening to this message from? Your support keeps this channel alive and allows us to bring more stories like this. And tell me, do you prefer longer, detailed stories or shorter ones? Let me know below. The cold came in waves that night, each gust of wind sharper than the last, cutting through fabric and skin alike, as if winter itself had a personal vendetta against anyone foolish enough to be outside. Hannah Miller stood at the bus stop outside Northbrook Court Mall, her thin coat doing almost nothing to protect her from the relentless Chicago wind. It was nearly 8 o'clock on a Thursday evening in late January, and the parking lot around her was emptying fast. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, trying to generate some warmth, her fingers wrapped tightly around the handles of a plastic shopping bag. Inside were construction paper, glue sticks, markers, and a pack of gold star stickers, $43 she couldn't really afford to spend, taken from money that should have gone toward groceries or Lucas's new winter boots. "Bus delayed, 26 minutes, her phone screen announced. Hannah sighed, pulling her scarf higher. That's when she heard it, the laughter. "Oh my God, is that Hannah?" Melissa's voice rang out, bright and cutting. "Hannah! Girl, what are you still doing here?" Hannah turned slowly, forcing her face into something approximating a smile. Melissa and Tara were standing beside a gleaming silver SUV, designer shopping bags hanging from their arms. "Hi," Hannah managed. "Just waiting for the bus." "The bus?" Tara repeated, her eyebrows raised dramatically. "In this weather? Girl, that's rough. Like really rough." Melissa clicked her key fob, and the SUV chirped in response. "I honestly don't know how you do it, Hannah, taking the bus everywhere. Doesn't it take like forever to get anywhere?" "It's not so bad," Hannah lied, even as the wind nearly knocked her off balance. "Right." Melissa exchanged a look with Tara, and Hannah saw it, that mixture of pity and judgment she'd learned to recognize. "Well, we'd offer you a ride, but we're heading to Tara's place, opposite direction. Girls' night, you know. Wine and good Netflix," Tara added with a laugh. "You should join us sometime." "Oh, wait, you probably have to get home to Lucas, right? No babysitter?" "Mrs. Henderson watches him," Hannah said quietly, hating that she felt the need to explain. "That's sweet. The neighbor lady." Melissa climbed into the driver's seat. "You know what you should do, though? Seriously. Get yourself on one of those payment plans. They have deals now where you can finance a car for like nothing down. Even on a teacher's salary," Tara chimed in, and the way she said teacher's salary made it sound like a disease. "I'll look into it," Hannah said, knowing she wouldn't. "You really should," Melissa said, starting the engine. Warm air immediately fogged up the windows. "I mean, you're a professional. You should look like one, you know. arriving at school on the bus every day. She shook her head. It just doesn't send the right message. What message should it send? Hannah asked before she could stop herself. Melissa paused, surprised by the question. Well, you know, success, stability, that you have your life together. I have my life together, Hannah said, her voice steady despite the cold making her teeth chatter. I teach 23 children to read. I help them learn to be kind humans. I show up every single day, even when the district can't afford basic supplies. That's success. That's stability. There was an awkward silence, then Tara laughed, a high, uncomfortable sound. Well, okay then. Good for you, Hannah, really. Stay warm, Melissa called out with forced cheerfulness as she put the car in reverse. The taillights disappeared into the darkness, and Hannah was alone again. The silence that followed felt heavier than the cold. Hannah checked her phone. 24 minutes now. Excuse me? Hannah jumped, spinning around. A man stood a few feet away, tall, maybe mid-40s, wearing an expensive-looking coat. Her hand instinctively tightened on her keys. I'm sorry, he said quickly, holding up both hands. I didn't mean to startle you. I saw what happened. With those women, are you okay? Hannah studied him carefully. He kept his distance, non-threatening, his expression genuinely concerned. I'm fine, just waiting for the bus. I heard. I also heard them say it's delayed 24 minutes. He hesitated. Look, I know this is going to sound strange coming from a complete stranger, but it's freezing out here. Would you let me wait with you? I have a car right there. He pointed to a dark sedan nearby. But I understand if you'd rather I leave. I don't feel right leaving you out here alone after what just happened. Why do you care? Hannah asked, the question coming out sharper than she intended. The man was quiet for a moment. Because my mother used to take the bus. Every day for 18 years, and sometimes people treated her the way those women just treated you, like she was invisible, like she didn't matter. His voice softened. I was just a kid then. I couldn't do anything about it. But I'm not a kid anymore. Something in his tone made Hannah believe him. Okay, she said carefully. You can wait. But keep your distance, please. Of course. He stayed exactly where he was. I'm Michael, by the way. Michael Carter. Hannah. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Then Michael said, There's a Starbucks inside that's probably still open. Can I get you some coffee? Something warm? I'll bring it out here to you. Hannah wanted to refuse, wanted to maintain her independence, her dignity. But she was so cold, and the offer was so simple, so kind. Black coffee would be nice. Thank you. Black coffee, got it. I'll be right back. He walked away, and Hannah watched him go, half expecting him not to return. But he did 5 minutes later, carrying 2 large cups and a handful of sugar and cream packets. I wasn't sure if you really take it black or if you just said that, he explained, handing her the cup. So I brought options. The cup was warm in her frozen hands. Hannah brought it to her face, letting the steam warm her cheeks. Thank you. Really. You're welcome. Michael took a sip of his own coffee, then said, 20 minutes left, according to your phone. If it's even accurate. Sometimes they just don't come at all. What do you do then? Wait for the next one? Or start walking and hope I can catch a later bus along the route? She shrugged. You figure it out. That's awful, Michael said, and there was real anger in his voice. Not at her, but at the situation. This city should have better public transit. People shouldn't have to stand in dangerous cold because the system fails them. People like me, you mean, Hannah said. People who can't afford cars. People who do essential work that society depends on, but refuses to properly compensate, Michael corrected. Those women, they're teachers too. Upper elementary, different pay scale, but not by much. They just prioritize differently. They prioritize being cruel, apparently. Hannah almost smiled. "You don't have to stand here with me, you know. I'm used to this." "That's exactly why I'm staying," Michael said. "Because you shouldn't be used to this. Nobody should." And there, in the freezing cold of a Chicago winter night, with coffee warming her hands and an unexpected stranger keeping her company, Hannah felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Seen. Not pitied, not judged, but genuinely seen as a human being whose struggle mattered. "So what were you shopping for?" Michael asked, nodding at her bag. "Classroom supplies, construction paper, markers, that kind of thing." "The school doesn't provide those." Hannah laughed, but there was no humor in it. "The school barely provides pencils. If I want my students to have materials for art projects or creative activities, I buy them myself." "With your own money? Money you clearly don't have to spare?" "What choice do I have? Tell 5-year-olds they can't make Mother's Day cards because the budget doesn't include construction paper." She shook her head. "They're kids. They deserve to create, to learn, to feel like school is a place of possibility, even if their teacher can barely afford rent." Michael was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "My mother would have liked you. She always said teachers were saints in underpaid disguise." "Was she a teacher?" "No. She cleaned office buildings. But she valued education more than anything. Worked 3 jobs so I could go to college." He stared into his coffee cup. "She died before she got to see what I made of those opportunities." "I'm sorry," Hannah said softly. "Me too." He cleared his throat. "But she'd be glad I stopped tonight. Glad I didn't just drive away like everyone else." They fell into more comfortable silence, both sipping their coffee, watching the occasional car pull out of the parking lot. The cold was still brutal, but somehow it felt more bearable with company. 18 minutes, Hannah said, checking her phone. "I could give you a ride," Michael offered gently. "I know you don't know me, and I completely understand if you say no, but I promise I'm not a threat. I can show you my license, my business card. You can text someone my information. Whatever would make you feel safe." Hannah looked at him, really looked at him, and saw only genuine concern, no ulterior motives, no condescension, just a man who wanted to help another human being on a difficult night. "Let me think about it," she said. "Ask me again in 10 minutes. "Fair enough," Michael said, and they continued waiting together in the cold, two strangers connected by an unexpected moment of shared humanity on one of the longest, coldest nights of the year. Michael Carter hadn't planned to be a hero that night. He'd been heading to his car after a frustrating meeting with city council members who'd once again delayed his affordable housing project, his mind occupied with zoning regulations and political maneuvering. But then he'd heard the laughter, that particular kind of cruel laughter that cuts through cold air like a knife, and something made him stop. He'd watched from near the mall entrance as two women mocked the teacher at the bus stop. Watched as they drove away in their warm SUV, leaving her standing alone in dangerous cold. And something inside him had cracked open, something he'd kept carefully sealed for decades. "Mom," he whispered to himself, seeing not Hannah but his own mother, standing at bus stops just like this one, waiting in the cold while people drove past without a second thought. His mother, Rosa Carter, had died 32 years ago. But some memories never fade. They just wait, dormant, until something triggers them back to vivid, painful life. Rosa had worked as a cleaner downtown, taking the bus before dawn and returning after dark. Her hands raw from chemicals, her body bent from exhaustion. Michael remembered waiting with her sometimes, remembered the way certain people looked at her, or rather, looked through her. "Why don't we have a car, Mama?" he'd asked once, maybe 7 years old, shivering beside her at a bus stop not unlike this one. "Because we can't afford one, mijo," she'd said, pulling him closer to share warmth. "But that's okay. We have each other. That's what matters. But you're so tired. A car would be easier. Lots of things would be easier," Rosa had said. and he'd heard something in her voice, not quite sadness, not quite resignation, but something heavier. But we work with what we have, and we never ever look down on people because of what they don't have. You remember that, Michael. You remember that everyone is fighting battles you can't see. He'd remembered. Even as he'd built his fortune, even as he'd accumulated wealth his mother couldn't have imagined, he'd remembered. But somewhere along the way, he'd stopped acting on that memory. He'd donated to charities, sure. He'd paid his employees well, but when had he last actually stopped to help someone the way his mother would have wanted him to? Standing there in the parking lot, watching Hannah Miller try to maintain her dignity in the face of casual cruelty, Michael felt ashamed. Ashamed that he'd almost walked to his car without stopping. Ashamed that he'd become so insulated by wealth that he'd nearly forgotten what it felt like to need help. "Not tonight," he said aloud, making a decision. "Tonight I stop." He approached carefully, not wanting to frighten her, and when she'd agreed to let him wait with her, relief had flooded through him. It wasn't much, just standing with someone in the cold, but it felt more meaningful than anything he'd done in months. Now, 15 minutes into their wait, he was learning about this woman who bought classroom supplies with money she didn't have, who took the bus every day despite the danger and difficulty, who faced mockery from colleagues with quiet dignity. "Can I ask you something?" Michael said, breaking a comfortable silence. "Those women, do they treat you like that often?" Hannah sighed, her breath forming a cloud. "Often enough. There's a hierarchy in schools. Elementary teachers versus high school teachers, younger teachers versus experienced ones, and then there's economic hierarchy too. The teachers who drive nice cars and wear designer clothes get treated differently than those of us who don't. That's ridiculous. Teaching is teaching." "You'd think so." Hannah took another sip of her rapidly cooling coffee. "But Melissa teaches 5th grade, and somehow she's decided that makes her superior to me teaching kindergarten. As if teaching 5-year-olds to read and tie their shoes and be kind humans is less important than teaching pre-teens about fractions. It's not less important. It's foundational. Everything else builds on what you teach them." Hannah looked at him, surprise evident on her face. "Most people don't see it that way." "Most people are idiots," Michael said, and she laughed. A real laugh this time, not the bitter sound from before. "You can't say that." "I just did. And I meant it." He turned to face her more directly. "Hannah, what you do matters. Those kids you teach, they're going to remember you for the rest of their lives. The teacher who made them feel seen, who believed in them, who taught them they mattered. That's more valuable than anything most people do with their careers." "You sound like my sister," Hannah said quietly. She used to say things like that. "Used to? She passed away 2 years ago. Cancer." Hannah's voice wavered slightly. "She had a son. Lucas, he's 7 now. I'm raising him." Michael felt his chest tighten. "I'm so sorry. That must be incredibly difficult." "It is, but he's also the best thing in my life." Hannah smiled, and it transformed her face. "He's smart, funny, curious about everything. He wants to be an astronaut. That's ambitious. He can do it too. If I can keep him fed and housed and in decent schools, if I can give him opportunities despite—" She trailed off, gesturing vaguely at the bus stop, at her worn coat, at the whole situation. "Despite the system being stacked against you," Michael finished. "Yeah, that. What was your sister's name?" "Sarah. Sarah Miller. She was 3 years older than me, basically raised me after our parents, well, they weren't in the picture much. Addiction issues." Hannah said it matter-of-factly, but Michael heard the pain underneath. "Sarah made sure I finished high school, helped me apply for college scholarships, pushed me to become a teacher, even when I didn't think I was smart enough." "You're more than smart enough," Michael said. "That's obvious just from talking to you for 20 minutes. You don't know me. I know you spend your own money on supplies for other people's children. I know you take the bus in dangerous cold rather than call in sick and let your students down. I know you're raising your nephew alone while teaching full-time and somehow maintaining your dignity despite people treating you terribly. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are." Hannah was quiet, and Michael worried he'd overstepped. But then she said softly, "Thank you, that's kind of you to say." "It's not kind, it's just true." They stood in silence for another moment, and then Hannah checked her phone. 13 minutes. If it's actually coming. And if it doesn't, then I wait for the next one. Should be here in 47 minutes after that. 47 minutes, Michael repeated, horrified. In this cold? Hannah, that's dangerous. You could get hypothermia. I've survived worse. That's not the point. You shouldn't have to survive worse. You should have reliable, safe transportation. Everyone should. Well, everyone doesn't, Hannah said with a shrug that tried for casual but missed. This is reality for a lot of people. We just don't complain about it because nobody cares anyway. I care, Michael said, and meant it with an intensity that surprised him. I care that you're standing here in the cold. I care that teachers have to buy their own supplies. I care that the system is so broken that good people like you have to struggle just to survive while doing essential work. Hannah looked at him curiously. Why? You don't know me. Why do you care? Because you remind me of my mother, Michael said honestly. Because I watched her struggle the same way you're struggling, and I was too young to help her. Because she died from exhaustion and stress that should never have killed her, and I swore I'd never just stand by and watch someone else go through that if I had the power to help. What do you do? Hannah asked. For work, I mean. You're obviously not struggling financially. Michael almost laughed. No, not anymore. I'm in real estate development, commercial properties mostly. So you're wealthy? Yes. How wealthy? The directness of the question startled him, but he appreciated it. No dancing around the subject. Very. My company is worth about 40 million. My personal net worth is around 30 million. Hannah's eyes widened. $30 million. I know it sounds absurd. Sometimes it sounds absurd to me too, especially when I meet people like you who can't afford a $43 bag of school supplies. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand something. The car I drove here tonight cost more than most people make in a year. I live in a penthouse that has more space than I could ever use. I eat at restaurants where a single meal costs what you probably spend on groceries for a month, and you know what all that wealth has given me. What? Loneliness? Isolation? A life that looks successful but feels empty. Because money can buy comfort, but it can't buy connection. It can't buy meaningful relationships or purpose, or the feeling that what you do matters. He paused. You have something I don't. You have purpose. You matter to those kids you teach. You matter to your nephew. You make a real difference in people's lives every single day. I move money around and build buildings that make rich people richer. Tell me which of us is actually wealthy. Hannah stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then she said, That's a very pretty speech for someone who gets to go home to a warm penthouse tonight while I wait for a bus that might not come. Michael winced. You're right. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to romanticize your struggle or suggest that poverty builds character or any of that toxic nonsense. You deserve better material circumstances. Everyone does. I just meant... I know what you meant, Hannah said, her tone softening slightly, and I appreciate the sentiment. But right now I'd trade some of my purpose for reliable heat and transportation. Let me give you a ride home, Michael said. Please, I know you don't know me, but I can make myself verifiable. License, business card, you can track my location, text my information to someone, whatever you need to feel safe, but please don't stand here for another... He checked his watch. 11 minutes, possibly longer. It's not safe. Hannah looked at him for a long moment, clearly weighing her options. Michael held his breath, knowing that everything, some connection he couldn't quite name but already valued, hung on her answer. "If I say yes," Hannah said slowly, "it's not because I need rescuing. It's because I'm making a practical choice about safety and time management, okay? Absolutely okay. And you show me your license and your business card, and I take pictures of both and of you and send them to my neighbor with your license plate number before I get in your car." "Perfect. Smart. Your neighbor will know exactly where you are and who you're with. And you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road, and you drop me at my door, and then you leave. No expecting anything in return." "I expect nothing except to know you got home safely," Michael said. "I promise." Hannah studied his face, and Michael let her look, let her see whatever she needed to see to trust him. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, show me your identification." Relief washed over him as he pulled out his wallet. He handed her his license, then his business card, then stood still while she photographed him against the bus stop sign. She typed rapidly on her phone, and Michael watched her send the messages, feeling oddly grateful for her caution. It meant she was smart, careful, a survivor. "Okay," Hannah said, putting her phone in her pocket. "Where's your car?" "Right there, the blue sedan. You can walk ahead of me if you want." "I do want." Hannah started walking, and Michael followed several paces behind, giving her space, letting her control the situation. When they reached the car, she checked the back seat before getting in, and Michael appreciated that too. She was protecting herself, as she should. He started the engine and turned the heat on high, directing all the vents toward her. Hannah's face as the warm air hit her, pure relief, eyes closing briefly, made something twist in Michael's chest. How many times had she endured cold like this? How many nights of suffering that he'd never even had to think about? "Where to?" he asked, pulling up GPS on his phone. Hannah rattled off an address on the south side, and Michael entered it without reaction. Though he knew the neighborhood, knew it wasn't safe, knew the buildings there were poorly maintained, knew the schools nearby were underfunded, knew it was exactly where someone on a teacher's salary would end up. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," Hannah said, and Michael pulled out of the parking lot, heading toward an address he'd already memorized, toward a woman he'd somehow known for less than an hour, but who'd already changed something fundamental inside him. He didn't know it yet, but his life had just divided into before and after. Before Hannah Miller, after Hannah Miller. Nothing would ever be quite the same again. The first few minutes of the drive passed in tense silence. Hannah sat rigid in the passenger seat, her phone visible in her hand, clearly tracking their route on GPS to make sure Michael was actually taking her home. He respected that caution, kept his hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, drove exactly the speed limit, made no sudden movements. "You can adjust the heat if you want," Michael said quietly, gesturing to the controls. "Or turn on the seat warmer. It's that button there." Hannah pressed the button, and Michael heard her small sigh of relief as warmth began radiating through the seat. He'd never really thought about heated seats as a luxury before. They were just a feature his car had. But watching Hannah's face relax as the warmth reached her, he realized what a profound difference small comforts made when you'd been deprived of them. "Thank you," Hannah said after a few more minutes, "for the ride, and for waiting with me. You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to." "Why, though? Really?" Hannah turned to look at him directly. "I need to understand what you're getting out of this. People don't usually help strangers without wanting something in return." Michael considered the question carefully. "Honestly, peace of mind. I couldn't have driven home and enjoyed my warm apartment knowing I'd left you standing in that cold. It would have haunted me, because of your mother, partly, but also because it's just wrong. The whole system is wrong. Teachers shouldn't be buying their own supplies. People shouldn't have to risk hypothermia waiting for unreliable public transit. Workers shouldn't have to choose between rent and food. It's all backwards, and I have the resources to help sometimes, so why wouldn't I? Most wealthy people don't think that way. Most wealthy people are morally bankrupt, Michael said bluntly, and Hannah laughed, a surprised, genuine sound. You really don't pull punches, do you? Life's too short for diplomatic lies. The system that made me wealthy is the same system that keeps you struggling, and that's fundamentally unjust. I can acknowledge that and still participate in the system, still try to use my position to help where I can. They drove in more comfortable silence for a few minutes. The warm air from the heater filling the car, the soft sound of jazz playing quietly from the speakers. Hannah seemed to relax incrementally, her shoulders dropping slightly, her grip on her phone loosening. "Can I ask you something?" Michael ventured. "Sure." "How long have you been teaching?" 3 years at Meadowbrook. I taught for 2 years at another school before that, but it closed due to budget cuts." Hannah's voice carried familiar exhaustion. 5 years total of watching the system fail kids who deserve so much better. "What made you want to become a teacher?" Hannah was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. "My sister, Sarah, she was everything. Smart, strong, determined. She dropped out of high school to work when our parents couldn't take care of us anymore. Worked 2 jobs to keep us fed and housed while I finished school. That's incredible. She was incredible, and she always said that education was the way out, the way to break cycles of poverty and dysfunction. She pushed me to go to college, even though we had no money for it. Helped me fill out scholarship applications, drove me to campus visits in her beat-up car that barely ran. Hannah's voice wavered. She sacrificed everything for me. So when she got sick, when she made me promise to take care of Lucas and give him the education she'd always valued, I couldn't say no. How old was Lucas when she died? 5. Just starting kindergarten. Hannah wiped her eyes quickly. He'd already lost his father. Some guy who disappeared when Sarah got pregnant, then to lose his mom too. It broke something in him. He didn't talk for 3 months. Just shut down completely. Michael's chest tightened. That must have been terrifying for you. It was. I was grieving Sarah, trying to figure out how to suddenly be a parent, teaching full-time and watching this little boy just disappear inside himself. I didn't know if he'd ever come back. But he did. Slowly. With therapy I could barely afford, and a lot of patience and showing up every single day, even when I didn't know what I was doing. Hannah smiled slightly. He's a different kid now. Still quiet sometimes. Still has nightmares about his mom. But he laughs. He asks questions. He's curious about the world. That feels like a victory. "You brought him back," Michael said. "You did that, Hannah. Through love and consistency and refusing to give up on him. That's remarkable. I'm his aunt. What else was I going to do? You'd be surprised what other people would have done. Plenty would have found reasons why they couldn't take him, why it was too hard, too expensive, too disruptive to their lives. You chose the hard thing because it was the right thing. That matters." Hannah looked out the window at the passing city lights. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm enough. If I'm giving him what he really needs. A stable home, sure, but also, I don't know, a father figure. More financial security, opportunities I can't provide on a teacher's salary." "You're giving him love," Michael said firmly. "Consistent, unconditional love. Everything else is secondary to that. Trust me, I had every material advantage growing up, or at least my mother made sure I did, at great cost to herself. But what I remember most is that she was there. She showed up. She cared. That's what Lucas will remember about you." They were getting closer to Hannah's neighborhood now, the buildings becoming more run down, the streets less well lit. Michael kept his expression neutral, but his heart sank. This wasn't safe. The area looked rough even during daylight. At night it must be genuinely dangerous. "It's not as bad as it looks," Hannah said, clearly reading his thoughts. "Mostly just poor families trying to survive. Some crime, sure, but Mrs. Henderson, my neighbor, she looks out for us." The building has decent locks. We're okay. I wasn't judging, Michael said quickly. I grew up on the south side too. Different area, but similar economics. I know what it's like. Really? Hannah sounded surprised. Really? Two-bedroom apartment that always smelled like mildew. Thin walls where you could hear every argument from the neighbors. Broken elevator, broken heating, broken everything. My mom and I shared that place until I graduated college. What changed? I got lucky. Right place, right time, right idea for a business. Made my first real money at 26, and I've been building on it since. Michael pulled onto Hannah's street. But I remember what it felt like to wonder if we'd make rent. To choose between electricity and groceries. To be one emergency away from complete disaster. That's still my life, Hannah said quietly. Every month is a calculation. Every unexpected expense is a crisis. Lucas needed new shoes last month, and I had to skip paying my credit card to afford them. I'm drowning in interest charges now. But what was I supposed to do? Let him go to school in shoes with holes? Michael's hands tightened on the steering wheel. That shouldn't be a choice anyone has to make. Teachers should be paid enough that kids needing shoes isn't a financial catastrophe. Well, we're not. So here we are? Hannah pointed to a brick building on the left. That one. With the blue door. Michael pulled up in front and put the car in park, but left the engine running, keeping the heat on. He turned to face Hannah, and she met his eyes, something unreadable in her expression. "Thank you," she said again. "Really, for everything tonight, for seeing what happened, for caring enough to stop, for the coffee and the ride and just for treating me like I matter. You do matter, Hannah, more than you probably realize." They sat there for a moment, something electric in the air between them, some connection neither quite knew how to name. Then Hannah reached for the door handle. "Wait," Michael said. Would it be okay if I gave you my number? Not because I expect anything," he added quickly, seeing her hesitation. "Just if you ever need help again, if you're stuck somewhere or need a ride or just... I'd want to know you could call someone, that you had an option." Hannah studied him carefully. "Why would you do that? We're strangers." "We were strangers an hour ago," Michael corrected. "Now we're two people who shared coffee and conversation and learned we have more in common than different. That's not nothing." "You're very persistent." "Only when something matters." Michael pulled out his phone. "What's your number? I'll text you so you have mine." Hannah recited her number, and Michael sent a quick text. "This is Michael. Thanks for trusting me tonight. Get home safely." Her phone buzzed in her hand, and she looked at it, then back at him. "What exactly are you offering here? Friendship? Some kind of ongoing rescue service? I need to understand what this is." "Honestly? I don't know yet," Michael admitted. "I just know I don't want tonight to be the last time we talk. I like you, Hannah. I like your strength and your honesty and the way you see the world. I'd like to get to know you better. No pressure, no expectations, just possibility." Possibility," Hannah repeated, testing the word. "I'm not sure I believe in that anymore. Maybe I can help you believe again." Hannah opened the door, letting in a blast of cold air. "I need to go. Lucas will be wondering where I am." "Of course. Good night, Hannah." "Good night, Michael." She climbed out, then paused and leaned back in. "And Michael, thank you for stopping. It meant more than you probably realize." "You're welcome. Text me when you're safely inside." Hannah nodded, closed the door, and walked toward her building. Michael watched until she disappeared through the blue door, then waited another minute until his phone buzzed. "Inside. Safe. Thank you again." He typed back, "Glad you're home. Sleep well. And Hannah, if you're ever stranded anywhere day or night, call me. I mean it." The response came quickly. "Why are you being so nice to me?" Michael stared at the question for a long moment, then typed, "Because you deserve niceness. Because kindness shouldn't be rare or surprising. Because I can help and you need help, and that should be enough reason, is it?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I'm not used to people helping without wanting something. I know. But I promise the only thing I want is to know you're okay. That's all. Good night, Hannah. Good night. Michael sat in his car outside her building for another few minutes, engine idling, heater running, thinking about the woman who'd just walked into that rundown building, thinking about her strength and her struggle, and her refusal to accept pity even when she desperately needed help. He thought about his mother, about all the times she'd stood at bus stops alone, all the times she'd chosen between necessities, all the exhaustion and stress that had eventually killed her. He couldn't help his mother anymore. She was gone, lost to a broken system and circumstances he'd been too young to change. But he could help Hannah. Maybe that made him selfish, trying to heal old wounds by helping someone new. But it felt right. It felt like the most important thing he'd done in years. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Hannah. I know this is probably weird to say after one car ride, but it's been a really long time since anyone made me feel like I mattered. So thank you for that. Truly. Michael's throat tightened. He typed carefully. You matter, Hannah. Never doubt that. And it's not weird. I'm glad I could give you that, even for one night. Call me tomorrow if you want to talk. Or don't. No pressure. But the offer stands. Maybe I will. I hope you do. Michael finally pulled away from the curb, driving back toward his penthouse in a much nicer part of the city, but his mind stayed in that brick building with the blue door. Stayed with the woman who bought school supplies she couldn't afford and raised her nephew alone, and somehow maintained her dignity despite the world trying to strip it away. He'd been wealthy for years, had accumulated more money than he could spend in several lifetimes. But tonight, spending an hour with Hannah Miller had been the most worthwhile thing he'd done with his resources in longer than he could remember. When he finally reached his building, rode the elevator up to his penthouse, walked into his enormous empty apartment with its perfect view of Lake Michigan, Michael felt the loneliness of his life with sudden stark clarity. He had everything money could buy, but he didn't have what Hannah had. Purpose, connection, someone depending on him, a reason to show up every day that went beyond profit margins and property values. He wanted that. Wanted what he'd glimpsed in her life despite its difficulty. Wanted to matter to someone the way she mattered to Lucas, to her students, to the people her work touched every single day. Michael stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the glittering city, at the thousands of lights representing thousands of lives, and made himself a promise. He wouldn't let Hannah disappear back into her struggle. He'd find a way to help, to ease some of her burden, to show her that sometimes good things happen to good people, not because they'd earned it through suffering, but simply because they deserved it. He didn't know how yet. Didn't know if she'd even let him. But he'd figure it out, because some connections, however unexpected, were too important to let slip away. Hannah lay awake long after getting home that night, staring at the water-stained ceiling of her small bedroom, her phone resting on her chest. She kept reading and rereading the text conversation with Michael, trying to understand what had just happened to her life. Aunt Hannah? Lucas's small voice came from the doorway. You okay? Hannah sat up quickly. Hey, buddy. What are you doing awake? It's late. I heard you come in. Mrs. Henderson said you got a ride from a man. Lucas climbed onto her bed, his face serious in the dim light. Are you in trouble? No, sweetie. I'm not in trouble. Hannah pulled him close. I met someone nice tonight. He saw me waiting for the bus and offered me a ride home. That's all. Mom always said not to get in cars with strangers. Hannah's chest tightened at the mention of Sarah. Your mom was right. And I was very careful. I made sure he showed me his identification. I took pictures. I told Mrs. Henderson everything. I was safe, I promise. Lucas was quiet for a moment, then asked, Is he your friend now? I don't know yet. Maybe. Okay. Lucas yawned, already half asleep against her shoulder. I'm glad you're home. Me too, buddy. Come on, let's get you back to bed. After tucking Lucas in and returning to her own room, Hannah picked up her phone again. She should sleep. Tomorrow was Friday, a full day of teaching ahead of her. But instead, she found herself looking at Michael's business card photo at the professional website for Carter Development Group. The website was impressive, sleek, modern, featuring projects that had transformed neighborhoods across Chicago. And there, in the About section, was Michael's bio. Princeton undergraduate, Northwestern MBA, 20 years building one of the most successful commercial real estate companies in the Midwest. Awards for sustainable development, mentions in business journals, photos of him at charity galas with people whose names Hannah recognized from the news. This man, this genuinely wealthy and successful man, had waited with her at a bus stop, had bought her coffee, had insisted on making sure she got home safely. It didn't make sense. People like him didn't usually see people like her. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Michael. I know it's late, but I wanted to check. Did you get Lucas from your neighbor okay? Is everything all right? Hannah stared at the message. He was checking on her. At 11 o'clock at night, he was making sure she and Lucas were okay. Yes, everything's fine. Lucas is back to sleep. Thank you for asking. Good. I'll let you rest then. But Hannah, I meant what I said. If you ever need anything, call me, anytime. Why do you keep saying that? Because I mean it. Because I have resources that sit idle while people who need them struggle. Because helping you feels more meaningful than anything else I've done in months. Because I like you and I want to be someone you can count on. Pick whichever reason makes you most comfortable. Hannah didn't know how to respond to that. Finally, she typed, I'll think about it. Good night, Michael. Good night, Hannah. Sweet dreams. The next morning came too quickly. Hannah dragged herself through her Friday classes, her mind drifting constantly to the night before, to Michael's kindness, to the strange turn her life had taken. During her lunch break, she found herself telling Mrs. Henderson about it while picking up Lucas. And he just waited with you? Bought you coffee? Drove you home? Mrs. Henderson's eyes were shrewd. This man sounds too good to be true, honey. That's what worries me, Hannah admitted. Nobody does that without wanting something. Maybe he wants to get to know you better. Why would he? He's wealthy, successful, educated. I'm a broke teacher raising someone else's kid. We're from completely different worlds. Mrs. Henderson touched her arm gently. Or maybe you're from the same world, and he remembers that. You said his mother took the bus, that she worked herself to death. Maybe he sees his mother in you. Maybe helping you heals something in him. That's a lot of psychological projection for one car ride. Maybe, or maybe sometimes good people do good things just because they can. Mrs. Henderson smiled. Call him, Hannah, not because you need something, just to talk. See what happens. Hannah didn't call, but that evening, after putting Lucas to bed, she did text. Thank you again for last night. I've been thinking about what you said. The response came within seconds. About which part? All of it. But especially about accepting help, not being weakness. That's hard for me. I know. It's hard for everyone who's had to survive alone for too long. Can I ask you something? Sure. Would you be comfortable meeting for coffee sometime? Just to talk. No agenda, no expectations. I just enjoyed our conversation last night and I'd like to continue it, but only if you're comfortable. Hannah stared at the message for a long time. Every instinct screamed caution. But underneath the fear was something else. Curiosity, maybe even hope. When? Whenever works for you. Tomorrow? Next week? You choose. Tomorrow is Saturday. I have Lucas. Bring him. I'd like to meet him if that's okay. That surprised her. Most men ran at the mention of kids. You want to meet my 7-year-old nephew? If he's important to you, then yes, I want to meet him. Hannah, I'm not looking for some casual thing here. I'm interested in knowing you, and Lucas is a huge part of your life. I get that. I respect that. So yes, absolutely bring him. Hannah felt tears prick her eyes. When had someone last accepted Lucas as part of the package without hesitation? Okay. Where and when? There's a coffee shop on Clark Street near the park. Family friendly. How about 2 o'clock? We'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. Sleep well, Hannah. The next afternoon, Hannah stood outside the coffee shop, Lucas's hand in hers, second-guessing everything. What was she doing? She barely knew this man. Maybe he had ulterior motives she couldn't see yet. Maybe she was being naive and stupid and... Hannah! Michael's voice cut through her spiral. He was walking toward them from the parking lot, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, his smile genuine and warm. I'm so glad you came. Hi, Hannah managed. This is Lucas. Lucas, this is Michael, the man who gave me a ride home Thursday night. Lucas studied Michael with solemn eyes, then slowly extended his hand. Nice to meet you, sir. Michael crouched down to Lucas's eye level, shaking his hand seriously. Nice to meet you too, Lucas. Your Aunt Hannah told me you want to be an astronaut. That's really cool. Lucas's eyes widened. She did? She did. She's very proud of you. Do you like space? Lucas asked, his shyness evaporating slightly. I think it's fascinating. Have you been to the planetarium? Not yet. Aunt Hannah says maybe someday. Well, maybe someday soon, Michael said, glancing at Hannah. If your aunt says it's okay, maybe we could all go together sometime. Really? Lucas bounced excitedly. Aunt Hannah, can we? Please? Hannah felt overwhelmed, torn between gratitude and wariness. We'll see, Lucas. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Inside the coffee shop, Michael ordered without hesitation. What would you like, Lucas? Hot chocolate? Lucas asked hopefully, looking at Hannah. With whipped cream, Michael confirmed, then turned to Hannah. And for you? Just a latte. I can pay. Please let me, Michael said gently. I invited you. It's my treat. They settled at a corner table, Lucas between them, working enthusiastically on his hot chocolate. Michael asked Lucas about school, about his favorite subjects, about the Lego sets Hannah had mentioned. And Lucas, usually so reserved with strangers, gradually opened up, talking about his space station project, about his teacher, Mrs. Kim, about the book on astronauts he'd gotten from the library. Hannah watched them interact, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. Michael wasn't just being polite, he was genuinely interested, asking follow-up questions, remembering details Lucas had mentioned, and Lucas was responding in a way Hannah rarely saw, confident, animated, happy. Aunt Hannah helps me with my homework every night, Lucas told Michael proudly, even when she's really tired. I bet she does. Your Aunt Hannah works very hard to take care of you. She's the best, Lucas said simply, and Hannah had to blink back tears. I agree, Michael said, meeting her eyes. She's pretty amazing. After Lucas finished his hot chocolate, Michael suggested they walk to the nearby park. Lucas ran ahead to the playground, and Hannah and Michael followed at a slower pace. He's a great kid, Michael said. Smart, polite, curious. You've done an incredible job with him. I'm just doing my best, Hannah said. Some days it feels like enough. Other days, she trailed off. Other days it feels like you're drowning and nobody notices. Yeah, exactly that. They walked in comfortable silence for a moment, watching Lucas climb on the playground equipment. Then Michael said, Can I ask you something personal? You can ask. I might not answer. Fair enough. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. What would your life look like if money wasn't a constant worry, if you had financial security? What would change? Hannah laughed, but there was no humor in it. Everything. I'd worry less, sleep better, not have nightmares about what happens if Lucas gets sick or my car. She stopped, remembering she didn't have a car. If the bus system fails me at a critical moment. I'd be able to take Lucas places without calculating whether we can afford it. Maybe save for his college instead of drowning in debt from my own. What if I told you I could help with that? Hannah stopped walking, turning to face him. What do you mean? I mean, I have resources I don't need. You have needs I could easily meet. There are ways I could help that wouldn't compromise your independence or dignity. Like what? Hannah's voice was cautious, wary. Like helping with Lucas's expenses, or setting up a college fund for him, or... No, Hannah said flatly. Absolutely not. Hannah. No, Michael. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I can't accept that. I barely know you. And even if I knew you better, I can't let you start paying for things. That's not okay. Why not? Michael asked, his voice gentle but persistent. Give me one good reason why accepting help from someone who wants to give it is wrong. 'Cause it makes me dependent on you. Hannah's voice rose slightly, and she glanced at Lucas to make sure he wasn't listening. Because what happens when you get bored or change your mind, or meet someone else? Then I've built a life on your generosity, and I'm stuck when you leave. What makes you so sure I'll leave? Everyone leaves, Hannah said quietly. My parents left. Sarah left, even though she didn't want to. Every relationship I've tried ended because Lucas was too much, or I was too poor, or too tired, or too complicated. People don't stay. Not for people like me. Michael's expression was pained. Hannah, I'm not everyone. And I'm not proposing anything that would make you dependent on me. I'm talking about gifts, not loans. Things that would help you but wouldn't trap you. You could still keep your job, your apartment, your independence. I'd just be removing some obstacles. Making your life a little less hard. Why? Hannah demanded. Why do you care so much? We met 2 days ago. Because I see you, Michael said intensely. Really see you. Your strength, your dedication, your love for Lucas. I see how hard you work and how much you give and how little you have left for yourself. And I have the ability to change that, at least partially. Why wouldn't I? Because it's not your responsibility. Maybe not. But maybe it should be all of our responsibility to help when we can. Maybe that's what being human means, recognizing suffering we have the power to ease and choosing to ease it. Hannah shook her head, feeling overwhelmed. This is too much, too fast. I need time to think. Of course. Take all the time you need. Michael reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet, extracting several bills. But let me give you this at least. For Lucas. For something fun. Movies, books, whatever he needs. Not a gift to you, a gift to him. Kids deserve joy, even when money is tight. Michael, please, if you can't accept help for yourself, accept it for him. He's 7. He shouldn't suffer because the world doesn't pay teachers fairly. Hannah stared at the money, $200 more than she spent on groceries in a month, and felt her resistance crumbling. Because he was right, Lucas did deserve better. Deserved trips to the planetarium and new books, and not hearing his aunt worry about money every single day. Okay, she said quietly, taking the money with shaking hands. For Lucas. But Michael, this doesn't mean I'm not agreeing to anything else. Just this. Just this, Michael agreed, for now. But Hannah, I'm not going anywhere. I know you don't believe that yet, but I'm going to prove it to you, however long it takes. They returned to watching Lucas play, the afternoon sun warm on their faces, despite the winter cold. And Hannah, despite all her fear and caution and certainty that this would end badly, felt something unfamiliar stirring in her chest. Hope. Dangerous, terrifying hope that maybe this time would be different. That maybe Michael meant what he said, that maybe, just maybe, good things could happen to her too. 3 days passed after their coffee shop meeting, and Hannah found herself thinking about Michael constantly. He texted each day, nothing pushy, just simple check-ins that somehow became longer conversations. Monday evening, lying in bed after another exhausting day of teaching, her phone lit up with his name. "How was your day?" his message read. Hannah smiled despite her fatigue. "Long. One of my students had a meltdown because someone took his favorite crayon. 5-year-old drama is surprisingly intense. Did you resolve the crayon crisis?" "Eventually. Turns out sharing is a revolutionary concept in kindergarten." "Sounds like Congress," Michael replied, and Hannah laughed out loud. "How was your day?" she typed back. "Frustrating. Another meeting about the affordable housing project. City Council keeps finding reasons to delay approval. Apparently wealthy residents don't want those people living near them." "That's awful." "It's predictable. People with money and power protecting their privilege at the expense of people who need help. Tale as old as time." Hannah hesitated, then typed, "You're not like that, though. You have money and power, but you don't use it to hurt people." "I try not to, but sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough. Building affordable housing is good, but it doesn't fix the systemic problems that create the need for it in the first place. You can't fix everything." "Nah, neither can you, but you try every single day in that classroom." Hannah stared at the message, feeling seen in a way that made her chest tight. "That's different, is it? We're both trying to make a broken world a little less broken. You do it through education. I do it through housing. Same goal, different methods." They texted for another hour, the conversation flowing easily between serious topics and silly ones. Michael told her about his day, about difficult clients and rewarding projects. Hannah shared stories about her students, about the little girl who'd written her a note saying, "Ms. Miller is the best teacher," in adorably misspelled letters. "That must make it all worthwhile," Michael wrote. "It does. Even when I can't pay my electric bill on time, even when I'm exhausted, those moments remind me why I do this." There was a pause, then, "Hannah, about your electric bill—" "Don't," Hannah interrupted. "Please don't offer to pay it. I'm managing." "Barely managing isn't the same as actually being okay." "But it's my barely managing. I need that. I need to know I can take care of myself and Lucas without someone else's money solving my problems." Another pause, longer this time. Then, "I understand. I'm sorry for pushing, but the offer stands if you ever change your mind." "Thank you. For understanding, I mean. Always." Thursday evening, Hannah was waiting at a different bus stop, near the grocery store this time, bags of food she'd carefully budgeted for, weighing down her arms. The app on her phone showed the bus arriving in 8 minutes, then 12 minutes, then delayed, unknown time. She groaned, setting down her bags to rest her aching arms. It was cold again, not as brutal as that night a week ago, but enough to make standing outside uncomfortable. She pulled out her phone to check alternate routes and saw a text from Michael. "How's your evening?" Hannah looked at her phone, at the delayed bus notice, at her grocery bags, and made a decision. Stuck at a bus stop. Bus is delayed indefinitely. Might be here a while. Her phone rang immediately. "Don't do that," Michael said when she answered. "Don't wait there. Where are you? I'll come get you." "Michael, no. I can't keep accepting rides from you." "Why not? I'm offering. You need help." "This isn't complicated." "It is complicated," Hannah insisted. "I can't start depending on you to rescue me every time transit fails. Why is asking for help when you need it depending on someone? Why can't it just be using available resources?" "Hannah, I'm sitting at home doing nothing. My car is sitting in the garage doing nothing. Why is it better for you to stand in the cold for an unknown amount of time rather than letting me drive you home?" "Because—" Hannah stopped, not sure how to explain the fear behind her resistance. "Because you're scared," Michael said gently, reading her silence. "Because accepting help feels dangerous. Because if you start counting on me and I leave, you'll be worse off than before." "Yes," Hannah admitted quietly. "Exactly that." "Okay, I hear you. How about this? Think of me not as someone you're depending on, but as a friend with a car. Friends help each other, right? And it doesn't create unhealthy dependence. It's just normal human interaction. Hannah was quiet, considering. We barely know each other. We've been texting every day for a week. We've had coffee. I've met Lucas. At what point do we know each other well enough for me to give you a ride without it being weird? Despite herself, Hannah smiled. You're very persistent. Only about things that matter. So, will you let me help? Please, I'll even let you contribute gas money if it makes you feel better. You would not. You're right, I wouldn't. But I'd pretend to if it convinced you to say yes. Hannah looked at her grocery bags, at the empty street, at her phone showing no update on the bus. She thought about how long she might stand here, how the frozen foods in her bags would thaw, how Lucas was waiting at home. Okay, she said finally. Where am I? She gave him the address and Michael said, I'll be there in 15 minutes, don't go anywhere. Where would I go? I'm at a bus stop. Fair point. See you soon. True to his word, Michael's car pulled up 14 minutes later. Hannah loaded her grocery bags into the trunk while Michael waited patiently, then climbed into the passenger seat. Thank you, she said as he pulled away from the curb. Again, I feel like I'm always thanking you. You don't have to thank me for basic kindness. Most people wouldn't consider this basic kindness. Most people would have ignored my text and gone about their evening. Then most people are assholes. Michael glanced at her. Hannah, can I tell you something? Sure. Helping you doesn't feel like a burden to me. It feels like the most meaningful thing I do. My days are usually filled with meetings and contracts and decisions about which building to buy or sell. It's all very important in the business sense, but it doesn't feel important. Not really. But this, making sure you get home safely with your groceries, this feels important. This feels like it matters. Hannah didn't know what to say to that. Finally, she managed. It matters to me. You matter to me. She saw Michael's hands tighten slightly on the steering wheel, saw his smile. You matter to me too. More than you probably realize. They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes, and then Michael said, Can I ask you something about that night last week at the mall? Okay. What would have happened if the bus hadn't come? Or if it had come but was too full to stop? What was your backup plan? Hannah was quiet, remembering her own imagining of that scenario. I don't know. Wait for the next one, I guess. Or start walking and hope I could catch a later bus along the route. In that cold. Hannah, that could have been dangerous. Actually dangerous. I know, but what choice would I have had? I can't afford taxis or Ubers most of the time. The bus is what I have. That's what I'm trying to fix, Michael said quietly. That feeling of having no choices, no options, no safety net. Everyone deserves options, Hannah. Everyone deserves to know they can get home safely without risking hypothermia. Easy to say when you have a car and money. You're right. It's easy for me to say, which is why I should actually do something about it instead of just talking. He paused. I've been thinking about something. Don't say no immediately, just hear me out. Hannah's stomach clenched. What? What if I helped you get a car? Not a gift, I know you'd refuse that. But what if I helped you find something reliable and affordable, maybe cover the down payment as a loan you could pay back over time? No interest, flexible terms, whatever works for your budget. Michael, just think about it, he said quickly. You don't have to decide now, but Hannah, you can't keep depending on a transit system that fails you constantly. It's not safe, and before you say you're fine, remember that you're not just responsible for yourself. You're responsible for Lucas too. What if there's an emergency and you can't get to him because you're stuck waiting for a bus? That hit home. Hannah had nightmares about exactly that scenario. Lucas sick or hurt or scared, and she couldn't reach him because she had no reliable transportation. That's not fair, she said quietly. Using Lucas to convince me. I know. I'm sorry. But it's also true. They reached her building, and Michael put the car in park, but didn't turn off the engine. He turned to face her. "I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm really not. I just want you to know that there are solutions to these problems, solutions I can help with. And accepting that help doesn't make you weak or dependent. It just makes you smart enough to use available resources." Hannah met his eyes, seeing genuine concern there, genuine care. "Why do you care so much? Really? I need to understand." Michael was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly? I don't fully understand it myself. I just know that meeting you changed something in me, made me remember what actually matters, made me want to use my wealth for something meaningful instead of just accumulating more of it. You've made me a better person, Hannah. In just 1 week, you've reminded me of who I wanted to be when I was younger, before success made me comfortable and complacent. I haven't done anything. You've done everything. You've shown me what real strength looks like, what dedication looks like, what love looks like when it's not transactional or conditional. You just exist in the world trying to be good and do good, despite everything being stacked against you. And that's remarkable. That's inspiring. So yes, I care. I care a lot." Hannah felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't know what to say to that." "You don't have to say anything. Just think about the car thing, okay? Think about what it would mean for Lucas to have that security, for you to have that freedom. And if you decide against it, that's okay too. I'll still be here. I'll still care. Nothing changes that." Hannah nodded, not trusting her voice. She gathered her grocery bags from the trunk, Michael helping despite her protests. At her door, she turned back to him. "Michael." "Yeah? Thank you. Not just for the ride. For everything. For seeing me, for caring, for being here. There's nowhere else I'd rather be," Michael said simply. After he left, after she'd put away the groceries and checked on Lucas, who was doing homework at the kitchen table, Hannah sat on her worn couch and let herself cry. Not sad tears, but overwhelmed tears. Tears of someone who'd been holding everything together for so long that kindness felt like breaking. Her phone buzzed, a text from Michael. "Home safe. And Hannah, that thing I said about you making me better, I meant it. Thank you for letting me be part of your life, even in this small way." Hannah stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed, "You're not a small part. You're becoming a big part. And that scares me." "I know. It scares me too. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the best things are always a little scary. Maybe. Get some rest and think about what I said. No pressure, just think about it." "I will. Good night, Michael." "Good night, Hannah." Hannah sat there in the dim light of her living room, listening to Lucas humming while he worked on math problems, and let herself imagine it. A car, reliable transportation, the freedom to go where she needed without calculating bus routes and waiting in the cold, the security of knowing she could reach Lucas in an emergency. It felt impossible, like a dream too big to actually come true. But Michael was offering to make it possible. The question was, could she be brave enough to accept? Could she trust that this wouldn't fall apart, that he wouldn't disappear, that accepting help wasn't the same as losing herself? She didn't know yet. But for the first time in a very long time, Hannah let herself hope that maybe, just maybe, things could actually get better, that the endless struggle didn't have to be endless, that sometimes, rarely but genuinely, people showed up and stayed. And maybe Michael Carter was one of those people. The following Saturday, Hannah found herself actually driving, to meet Michael for lunch. Not in her own car, but in a rental Michael had insisted on paying for after their conversation about transportation. "Just for the weekend," he'd said when he showed up at her apartment that morning with the keys. "So you and Lucas can go places without worrying about bus schedules. Try it out. See how it feels." Michael, this is too much. It's a rental for 2 days, Hannah. I spend more than this on a single business dinner. Please, let Lucas see the city without being constrained by public transit. And now here she was, hands on the wheel, Lucas bouncing excitedly in the back seat, heading to a restaurant Michael had chosen specifically because it had a kids' menu and a play area. She pulled into the parking lot and saw Michael already waiting outside, his face lighting up when he spotted them. "You made it," he said as they climbed out. "How does it feel, driving?" "Terrifying," Hannah admitted. "It's been years since I've been behind a wheel, but also freeing. We left when we wanted to leave. No waiting, no schedule, just freedom." "That's what I wanted you to feel," Michael said, then crouched down to Lucas's level. "Hey, buddy, how was the drive?" Aunt Hannah only freaked out a little bit, Lucas reported seriously. "She said a bad word when someone cut us off, but just a small one." Michael laughed. "Well, Chicago drivers will do that to you. Come on, let's get some food. I'm starving." Inside the restaurant, they settled into a booth. Lucas immediately absorbed by the coloring sheet and crayons a waitress brought over. Michael and Hannah ordered burgers for everyone, Lucas insisted, and then found themselves in that comfortable space of conversation that had become familiar over the past 2 weeks. "So tell me," Michael said, "what's the most rewarding part of teaching? The thing that makes all the struggle worth it?" Hannah thought for a moment. "The breakthroughs. When a kid who's been struggling suddenly gets it, reading, math, whatever. Their face just lights up with this joy and pride, and you realize you were part of that moment. You helped unlock something in them. That feeling never gets old." "Give me an example." "Okay. There's this boy in my class, Jaden. Came from a really rough situation, parents in and out of jail, living with his grandmother who works 2 jobs. He was so far behind when he started kindergarten. Couldn't recognize letters, couldn't count past 5, could barely hold a pencil properly. And now," Hannah smiled, her whole face transforming, "now he's reading at a 1st grade level. He stays after class sometimes just to show me books he's read. His grandmother cried when she came to parent-teacher conferences and I showed her his progress. She said nobody had ever believed in him before. Nobody had ever told her he was smart. That's because of you," Michael said quietly. "That's because someone finally gave him attention and resources. I'm just the person who happened to be there." "Don't diminish what you do," Michael said firmly. "You changed that kid's life trajectory. You showed him he's capable of learning, of growing, of being more than his circumstances. That's huge, Hannah. That's everything." "What about you?" Hannah asked, deflecting from the praise that made her uncomfortable. "What's the most rewarding part of your work?" Michael was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, it used to be the deals, closing on a property, securing financing, seeing projects come to completion. But lately," he paused, "lately it's the affordable housing project. The one the city council keeps blocking. If we finally get approval and build it, people who've been priced out of decent neighborhoods will have safe, affordable places to live. Kids will have better schools. Families will have stability. That feels more important than anything else I've done. Why does the council keep blocking it? Because the wealthy residents in the area don't want those people near them. They're worried about property values, about the character of the neighborhood. What they really mean is they don't want poor people or people of color living near them. But they can't say that explicitly, so they hide behind zoning regulations and environmental concerns." "That's disgusting," Hannah said bluntly. "It is, and it's exhausting fighting it. But I can't give up because these families need housing. They deserve better than what the current market offers them." "You could just build luxury condos instead," Hannah pointed out. "Make more money, face less opposition." "I could, but what's the point of having wealth and influence if I don't use it to fix problems? I'd just be part of the problem then." Michael took a sip of his water. "My mother used to say that how you treat people who can't do anything for you says everything about your character." I try to remember that when dealing with entitled council members who can't imagine why anyone would choose to help poor people over maximizing profit. Their food arrived, and Lucas dove into his burger with enthusiasm. They ate and talked, the conversation flowing easily between serious topics and lighter ones. Michael asked Lucas about school, about his favorite subjects, about the space books he'd been reading. "Did you know that Mars has a mountain 3 times taller than Mount Everest?" Lucas said, eyes wide. "It's called Olympus Mons." "I did not know that," Michael said, looking genuinely interested. "That's incredible. Have you thought about what you'd want to study on Mars if you went there as an astronaut?" "Everything," Lucas said, "but especially looking for water. Because if there's water, maybe there could be life. Or maybe we could use it for a colony." "A colony on Mars," Michael mused. "That would be something. What would you need for a colony?" They launched into an animated discussion about Mars colonization, and Hannah watched them, her heart doing complicated things. Michael wasn't just being polite. He was engaged, asking thoughtful questions, treating Lucas's ideas with respect. And Lucas was opening up in ways she rarely saw, confident and excited, not worried about being too much or taking up too much space. After lunch, Michael suggested they go to the Museum of Science and Industry. "They have a space exhibit," he told Lucas. "Real spacecraft, actual moon rocks, all kinds of amazing stuff. Want to check it out?" Lucas looked at Hannah with such hope that she couldn't possibly say no, even though the museum admission was expensive. But when she reached for her wallet, Michael shook his head. "My treat. I invited you both, remember?" "Michael, Hannah, please. I want to do this. Let me." They spent 3 hours at the museum, Lucas running from exhibit to exhibit with boundless energy. Michael was patient and engaged, reading every placard, answering Lucas's endless questions, lifting him up to see displays that were too high. Hannah trailed behind them, watching this man who'd entered their lives so suddenly become someone Lucas clearly adored. In the space exhibit, standing in front of a real Apollo command module, Lucas asked, "Michael, have you ever wanted to go to space?" "Sometimes," Michael admitted. "But I think I'm more useful here on Earth, trying to make things better for people." "Like Aunt Hannah," Lucas said matter-of-factly. "She makes things better for kids." Michael glanced at Hannah, his expression soft. "Exactly like your Aunt Hannah." Later, as they left the museum and headed back to the parking lot, Lucas walked ahead of them, still buzzing with excitement about everything he'd seen. Michael touched Hannah's arm gently, stopping her. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Sure. Today has been one of the best days I've had in years. Just this. Being with you and Lucas, watching him learn and explore, seeing you relax and enjoy yourself. This is what I want my life to look like. This matters more than any business deal or property acquisition." Hannah's throat tightened. "Michael, I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 2 weeks. But Hannah, I have to be honest with you. I'm falling for you, for both of you, for this family you've built, for the life you're creating despite everything being against you. And I want to be part of it, if you'll let me." Hannah stared at him, her heart pounding. That's a lot. "I know. And you don't have to say anything back. I just needed you to know where I stand. I'm not playing games or killing time. I'm serious about this, about you." "I don't know what to say," Hannah admitted, feeling overwhelmed. "Then don't say anything yet. Just think about it. See how you feel, and know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for as long as you'll have me." They reached Hannah's rental car, and Michael helped strap Lucas into the back seat. The boy was already half asleep, worn out from the day's adventures. Before Hannah got in the driver's seat, Michael caught her hand. "Drive safe," he said. "Text me when you're home." "I will. And Hannah, thank you for today, for letting me be part of this. It means more than you know." Hannah drove home in a daze, her mind spinning. Michael was falling for her, had said it out loud, no games, no ambiguity. A wealthy, successful, genuinely good man was falling for a broke teacher with a ready-made family, and he didn't seem to see any of that as a problem. It should have felt like a dream come true, and part of it did. But another part of her was terrified, waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the moment when reality would intrude and he'd realize what he was signing up for. That night, after putting Lucas to bed, Hannah called Mrs. Henderson. She needed to talk to someone, to process what was happening. "He said he's falling for me," Hannah told her neighbor, pacing her small living room. "Just said it, out loud, like it was simple." "And how do you feel about him?" Mrs. Henderson asked. Terrified, hopeful, confused, all of it at once. Hannah sank onto the couch. "I think I'm falling for him too. But what if this doesn't work? What if he gets tired of dealing with my problems? What if Lucas gets attached and then Michael leaves?" "Those are all valid fears, honey, but they're not reasons to reject happiness when it's offered. Yes, he might leave. People do. But he also might stay. And if you push him away now because you're scared of what might happen later, you'll never know." "I've never had anyone fight for me like this," Hannah said quietly. "Everyone always left." "Why would he be different?" "Maybe because he's actually a good person. Maybe because he sees your worth. Maybe because sometimes, rarely but genuinely, people mean what they say." Mrs. Henderson's voice was gentle. "Hannah, baby, you deserve love. You deserve someone who sees how hard you work, how much you give, how strong you are. If Michael is that person, don't push him away out of fear. But what if it works out? What if this is the beginning of something beautiful? What if you let yourself be happy?" Hannah didn't have an answer for that. After hanging up, she sat on her couch in the dark, thinking about the day, about Lucas's excitement at the museum, about Michael's patience and engagement, about the way he'd said he was falling for her like it was the most natural thing in the world. Her phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "Home safe?" "Yes. Lucas is already asleep. He had an amazing time today." "So did I. Best day I've had in years. I meant what I said earlier, Hannah. All of it." Hannah stared at the message, her heart racing. Finally she typed, "I'm scared." "I know. Me too, but maybe we can be scared together." "Maybe. That's enough for now. Get some rest. Dream about Mars colonies and brave astronauts." Hannah smiled despite her fears. "Good night, Michael." "Good night, Hannah. Thank you for today. For letting me in, even just a little. It means everything." Hannah set her phone down and closed her eyes, and for the first time in a very long time, she let herself imagine a future that looked different from endless struggle. A future with someone who saw her, valued her, wanted to be part of her life, not despite its complications, but including them. It was terrifying, but it was also possibly the beginning of something real. Over the next 2 weeks, Michael became woven into the fabric of Hannah and Lucas's daily life in ways that felt both natural and miraculous. He showed up at Hannah's school on Friday afternoons with coffee, waiting to walk her to her car. She'd returned the rental, but Michael had started giving her rides when he could. He came to dinner on Tuesday and Thursday nights, sometimes bringing groceries, sometimes cooking himself, always treating Hannah's small apartment like it was exactly where he wanted to be. "You know you don't have to keep doing this," Hannah told him one Tuesday evening as he unpacked ingredients for homemade pasta. "Coming here, bringing food, spending your evenings in my tiny apartment when you have that beautiful penthouse." Michael looked up from the tomatoes he was chopping. "Do you want me to stop?" "No," Hannah admitted, "but I don't understand why you want to be here." "Because you're here. Lucas is here. This is where the people I care about are." He resumed chopping. "My penthouse is beautiful and empty. This apartment is small and full of life. Which would you choose?" "You make it sound simple." "It is simple. I'd rather be with you than anywhere else." "That's not complicated, Hannah. That's just how I feel." Lucas wandered into the kitchen, homework in hand. Michael, can you help me with my math? Aunt Hannah is good at reading, but she gets confused with the word problems. Hey, Hannah protested. I do not get confused. You counted on your fingers last time, Lucas pointed out with brutal 7-year-old honesty. Michael laughed. Come here, buddy. Let's see what you've got. They settled at the small kitchen table, Michael patiently working through the problems with Lucas, while Hannah started setting the table. She watched them. Michael's dark head bent close to Lucas's smaller one, her nephew's face scrunched in concentration, the easy way they interacted, and felt something in her chest crack open. This was what Lucas needed. Not just a mother figure, but a father figure too. Someone patient and present, someone who treated his questions as important, someone who showed up consistently. And Michael was becoming that person, not because he had to, but because he genuinely wanted to. I got it, Lucas exclaimed, solving a particularly tricky problem. Michael, look, I got it. You did. That's awesome, Lucas. You're really good at this once you understand the pattern. Aunt Hannah says I'm smart like my mom was. Michael's expression softened. Your Aunt Hannah is right. You're very smart. Your mom would be proud of you. Lucas was quiet for a moment, then asked in a small voice, Do you think she can see me? From heaven? Hannah froze at the counter, her breath catching. Lucas didn't ask about Sarah often, and when he did, she never knew quite what to say. But Michael didn't hesitate. I think she can, and I think she sees how hard you're working at school, how kind you are to others, how much you love your Aunt Hannah. I think she's very, very proud. Do you think she likes you? I hope so. I'm trying to take good care of both of you, the way she would have wanted. Do you think I'm doing okay? Lucas considered this seriously. Yeah, you're doing really good. Mom would like you. She always wanted Aunt Hannah to find someone nice. Hannah had to turn away, blinking back tears. Michael caught her eye and gave her a gentle smile, understanding written clearly on his face. After dinner, which was delicious, Michael was apparently an excellent cook, and after Lucas had been tucked into bed, Hannah and Michael sat on her worn couch, the comfortable silence between them now familiar. Thank you, Hannah said quietly, for what you said to Lucas about Sarah. That meant a lot. I meant it. I think she would be proud of him, and proud of you for raising him so well. I'm just doing my best. Your best is pretty remarkable. Michael shifted to face her more directly. Hannah, can I ask you something? That question always makes me nervous. Good nervous or bad nervous? Depends on what you're about to ask. Michael took her hand, his thumb tracing gentle patterns on her palm. Are you happy with this, with us? I know I've kind of inserted myself into your life pretty forcefully over the past few weeks, and I want to make sure you're okay with it, that I'm not overwhelming you or pushing too hard. Hannah looked at their joined hands, thinking about the question. I'm happier than I've been in a long time, but I'm also scared. Of what? Of this ending. Of getting used to having you here and then losing you. Of Lucas getting attached and then being hurt when you leave. What makes you so certain I'm going to leave? Because everyone does, Hannah said, her voice barely above a whisper. My parents left. Sarah left, even though she didn't want to. Every relationship I've tried ended because I was too much, too poor, too complicated, too tired. Why would you be different? Michael was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was intense, serious. Hannah, look at me. She did, meeting his dark eyes. I'm not your parents. I'm not some guy who dated you casually and decided you were too much work. I'm someone who sees exactly who you are, all the complications, all the struggles, all the responsibilities, and wants in anyway. Actually, not anyway, because of it. You're strong and dedicated and loving, despite everything being stacked against you. That doesn't make you too much. That makes you extraordinary. You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you well enough. I know you spend your own money on supplies for other people's kids. I know you took in your nephew without hesitation when he needed you. I know you show up every single day despite being exhausted and underpaid and undervalued. I know you're kind to me even when you're scared. I know you're funny and smart, and you see the world in ways that challenge me to be better. What else do I need to know? That I'm a mess, Hannah said, her voice cracking. That I can barely pay my bills. That some nights I cry in the shower because I'm so tired and overwhelmed and scared that I'm failing Lucas. That I'm not the strong, capable person you think I am. You're human, Michael said gently. Being human and having hard days doesn't make you less strong. It makes you real. And Hannah, that's what I want. Real. Not some perfect facade. Just you, exactly as you are. Tears spilled down Hannah's cheeks, and Michael pulled her close, letting her cry against his chest. I'm so scared, she whispered. I'm so scared of believing this is real and then losing it. I know, but Hannah, what if you don't lose it? What if I stay? What if this works out and we build something real together? Wouldn't that be worth the risk? I don't know if I'm brave enough. You're brave enough. You've been brave your whole life. This is just a different kind of bravery. They sat like that for a long time, Hannah gradually calming in the solid warmth of Michael's embrace. Finally, she pulled back, wiping her eyes. I must look awful. You look beautiful. Michael brushed a strand of hair from her face. You always look beautiful to me. You're biased. Absolutely, completely biased. He smiled. Hannah, I don't need you to have everything figured out right now. I just need you to know that I'm serious about this, about us. I'm not going anywhere unless you ask me to leave, okay? Okay, Hannah whispered, and for the record, I'm falling more in love with you every day. I know it's fast, I know we haven't known each other long, but that's how I feel. You don't have to say it back, I just wanted you to know. Hannah's breath caught. You love me? Yeah, I really do. Even though I'm a mess? You're not a mess. You're a person dealing with difficult circumstances with more grace than most people could manage. And yes, even though, actually, because of all of it, every part of you. Hannah didn't know what to say. The words, I love you too, sat on the tip of her tongue, terrifying and true. But she couldn't quite make herself say them. Not yet. Not when saying them felt like jumping off a cliff with no guarantee of a safe landing. But Michael seemed to understand. It's okay, he said softly. You don't have to say anything. Just think about it. Think about what we could build together. And know that I'm here, ready when you are. He left shortly after, and Hannah stood at her window watching his car pull away, her heart full of conflicting emotions. She was falling in love with him, had already fallen, if she was honest with herself. But admitting it felt dangerous, like giving him power to hurt her in ways she might not survive. Her phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Thank you for tonight, for letting me in, even when it scares you. That's the bravest thing anyone's ever done for me. Hannah stared at the message, then typed, Thank you for staying, for not giving up on me even when I'm difficult. You're not difficult. You're careful. There's a difference, and I'm not giving up. Not now, not ever. How can you be so sure? Because I know myself. I know what I want, and what I want is a life with you and Lucas in it. Everything else is just details we'll figure out together. Hannah's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Finally, she typed, I'm falling for you too. I'm terrified, but I'm falling. The response came immediately. Good, be terrified together. It's less scary that way. Is it? Not really, but at least we won't be alone. Hannah smiled through fresh tears. When did you get so wise? About 5 minutes after meeting you, you have that effect on people. I'm going to bed now. Lucas has soccer in the morning. Can I come? To the game? Hannah's heart swelled. You want to watch 7-year-olds chase a ball around a field for an hour? I want to watch Lucas chase a ball around a field for an hour and watch you be proud of him. So yes, I want to come, if that's okay." "That's more than okay. Game starts at 9. "I'll be there. Sleep well, Hannah. Dream of good things." "You too, Michael." Hannah climbed into bed, but sleep didn't come easily. Her mind kept replaying the evening, Lucas's easy affection with Michael, Michael's declaration of love, her own terrifying admission that she was falling too. Everything was moving so fast, and part of her wanted to slam on the brakes, to slow down, to protect herself. But another part of her, a braver part, or maybe just a more honest one, whispered that sometimes fast was okay. Sometimes when you found something real, you didn't need months or years to know it. You just knew. And Hannah knew. Knew that Michael was different, knew that this was different, knew that she could keep protecting her heart, or she could take a risk on something that might actually be worth it. The next morning, Michael showed up at the soccer field with coffee for Hannah and orange slices for the team. He sat with her on the sidelines, cheering loudly every time Lucas touched the ball, celebrating when Lucas's team scored, even though it was clear none of the kids really understood the rules. "He's good," Michael said as Lucas ran past, his face red with exertion and joy. "He's having fun," Hannah corrected. "That's all that matters at this age." "Did Sarah ever get to see him play?" Hannah shook her head. She was too sick by the time he started, but she would have loved this, would have been that embarrassing mom cheering too loud and taking a million pictures. "Then I'll be the embarrassing surrogate uncle taking a million pictures," Michael said, pulling out his phone. "You're taking pictures? Of course, Lucas will want to remember this, and you'll want to have them when he's older." Something about that, the assumption that he'd be there when Lucas was older, the casual way he inserted himself into their future, made Hannah's chest tight with emotion. After the game, they got ice cream, Lucas chattering excitedly about the one goal his team had scored. Michael listened attentively, asking questions, genuinely interested in every detail. And Hannah watched them and thought, this is what family looks like. Not perfection, but presence. Not wealth, but love. Not grand gestures, but showing up for soccer games and celebrating small victories. As they walked back to their cars, Lucas holding both their hands, swinging between them, Hannah felt something shift inside her. The fear was still there, it probably always would be, but underneath it was something stronger. Hope, trust. The beginning of belief that maybe, just maybe, this could work. That Michael meant what he said, that good things could happen to people like her. "Hannah," Michael said as they reached her car. "Yeah?" "This, right here, this is everything I want. I hope you know that." Hannah looked at him, really looked at him, and saw nothing but sincerity. "I'm starting to believe you," she said quietly. "Good. That's a start." He smiled. "Same time next week, for soccer?" "Same time next week." Michael bent down and high-fived Lucas. "You played great today, buddy. Keep practicing." "Will you practice with me?" Lucas asked hopefully. "In the park?" "Absolutely. We'll set up a time this week. Sound good?" "Yeah!" Lucas bounced excitedly. As Hannah drove home, Lucas already half asleep in the back seat, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Contentment. Not happiness exactly, that still felt too fragile, too easily destroyed. But contentment. The sense that her life was moving in the right direction, that she was building something solid and real, that she didn't have to do everything alone anymore. Her phone buzzed at a red light. She glanced at it. "Thank you for including me today, for letting me be part of these moments. I don't take it for granted. M." Hannah smiled and typed back quickly. "Thank you for showing up, for wanting to be part of these moments. It means more than you know." And as she drove through the familiar streets toward home, Hannah let herself imagine a future where Michael kept showing up, where Lucas grew up with a father figure who loved him, where she didn't have to carry every burden alone, where good things didn't end, they just began. It was terrifying. but it was also, possibly, the most hopeful thing she'd ever dared to imagine. 3 weeks after the soccer game, Hannah's phone rang at 7 in the morning. She was already awake, making breakfast for Lucas before school, but Michael rarely called this early. "Hello?" she answered, balancing the phone against her shoulder while flipping pancakes. "Good morning." Michael's voice was warm even through the phone. "I know it's early, but I have a question. What are you doing this Sunday?" Laundry, grocery shopping, the usual exciting weekend activities." "Cancel them. I want to take you and Lucas somewhere." Hannah smiled despite herself. "Where?" "It's a surprise, but dress comfortably. We'll be walking. Can you be ready by 10? "Michael, what are you planning?" "You'll see. Trust me?" Hannah thought about the past month, about every time Michael had shown up, every promise he'd kept, every moment he'd proven himself reliable. "Okay, we'll be ready." "Perfect. I'll pick you both up at 10. And Hannah?" "Yeah?" "Bring Lucas's camera if he has one. He's going to want pictures." Sunday morning arrived with Lucas bouncing off the walls with excitement. "Where are we going? Did Michael tell you? Is it the zoo? The aquarium? Please say it's the aquarium." "I don't know, buddy. It's a surprise." Hannah helped him into his jacket. "But Michael said you'd want your camera, so it must be somewhere cool." Michael arrived precisely at 10, looking more relaxed than usual in jeans and a casual sweater. "Ready for an adventure?" "Yes," Lucas shouted. "Where are we going?" "You'll see." Michael winked at Hannah as they headed to his car. "But first, we're picking up some supplies." The supplies turned out to be a picnic lunch from a deli Michael loved, complete with Lucas's favorite sandwiches and cookies shaped like dinosaurs. Then they drove to the Museum of Science and Industry. "We've been here before," Lucas said, confused but not disappointed. "I know. But have you been to the Omnimax Theater?" Michael asked. "They're showing a special film about space exploration today, narrated by an actual astronaut. I thought you might enjoy it." Lucas's eyes went wide. "A real astronaut? Really? Really? And after the movie, we can explore whatever exhibits you want. No rush, no schedule, just a whole day to learn about space and science and whatever else interests you." Hannah felt tears prick her eyes. Michael had planned this entire day around Lucas's interests, had thought about what would make him happy, had gone out of his way to create a special experience. "Michael, this is long overdue," he interrupted gently. "Lucas deserves days like this. You both do." The movie was incredible. Lucas sat, transfixed, his small hand gripping Hannah's as images of space filled the massive curved screen. When the astronaut narrator talked about the view of Earth from orbit, about seeing the whole planet at once and understanding how connected everything was, Lucas whispered, "That's what I want to do. I want to see that." "You will," Michael whispered back. "Keep studying, keep dreaming, and you'll get there." After the movie, they spent hours wandering the museum. Michael was endlessly patient, reading every placard Lucas pointed to, answering questions or admitting when he didn't know something and helping Lucas look it up. At one point, standing in front of an exhibit about the International Space Station, Lucas turned to Michael. "Are you going to be around for a long time?" he asked with characteristic 7-year-old bluntness. Michael crouched down to his level, his expression serious. "I plan to be." "Why do you ask?" "Because Aunt Hannah is happier when you're around, and I like having you here, but my mum left and my dad left before I even knew him, and I don't want you to leave too." Hannah's breath caught. They'd never talked about this directly, never addressed Lucas's fear of abandonment so openly. Michael didn't brush it off or make empty promises. "Lucas, I can't promise that nothing bad will ever happen. Life doesn't work that way. But I can promise that I'm not planning to leave. I care about you and your Aunt Hannah very much. You're both really important to me. But what if you change your mind?" "I won't. And I know that's hard to believe because people have left you before. But I'm different. I'm here because I want to be here. Not because I have to be, but because being with you two makes me happier than anything else in my life. Okay? Lucas studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay. Can we go see the U-505 submarine now? Just like that, the moment passed, but Hannah saw Michael's hands trembling slightly as he stood up. She caught his eye and mouthed, "Thank you," and he gave her a small smile that said everything words couldn't. Later, sitting on a bench while Lucas explored a hands-on exhibit about simple machines, Hannah turned to Michael. "That was good. What you said to Lucas. You didn't make promises you can't keep, but you were honest about your intentions. He deserves honesty. Kids always know when adults are lying anyway." Michael watched Lucas across the room. "He's a great kid, Hannah. So smart, so curious. You've done an amazing job with him. I'm terrified I'm screwing him up, that I'm not enough, that he needs more than I can give him. You're more than enough. You're everything he needs." Michael took her hand. "But you don't have to do it alone anymore. I meant what I said to Lucas. I'm here for both of you, for as long as you'll have me. Michael, we need to talk about this, about us, about where this is going." "Okay. What do you want to talk about?" Hannah took a breath. "I'm falling in love with you. I've been fighting it because it terrifies me, but I can't fight it anymore. You're everything I didn't know I needed. Patient and kind and present, and you actually care about Lucas, not just tolerating him to get to me. You show up, you keep showing up. And I don't know what to do with that." Michael's face transformed, joy and relief flooding his features. "You're falling in love with me?" "Yes. And it's terrifying because what if this ends? What if you wake up one day and realize that dating a broke teacher with a ready-made family is too complicated? What if—" "Hannah, stop!" Michael turned to face her fully, taking both her hands. "I'm in love with you, completely, terrifyingly in love with you. Not falling, already fallen. I love your strength and your dedication and the way you love Lucas so fiercely. I love that you challenge me, that you don't let me get away with anything, that you see past the money to the person underneath. I love how you light up when you talk about your students. I love your terrible jokes and the way you hum while you cook and how you always smell like vanilla and coffee. That's my lotion and my constant caffeine addiction," Hannah said, but her voice was shaky. "I know. I love it. I love you. All of you, the scared parts and the strong parts and the parts that are both at once. And I want to build a life with you, with both of you, if you'll let me." "A life," Hannah repeated. That's a big thing to say." "I know. And I'm not proposing or anything, not yet anyway. I just want you to know where my head is, where my heart is. I'm not playing around here, Hannah. This is real for me. You're real for me." Hannah felt tears streaming down her face. "I don't know how to do this, how to let someone in this completely. Neither do I. But we'll figure it out together. That's what love is, right? Figuring it out as you go, making mistakes, fixing them, showing up for each other even when it's hard. What if I'm too broken, too damaged? You're not broken, you're a survivor. There's a difference." Michael wiped tears from her cheeks with his thumbs. "And Hannah, I'm damaged too. I'm lonely and workaholic, and I've let wealth isolate me from real human connection. We're both works in progress. That's okay." Lucas came running over, breathless with excitement. "Did you see? I built a pulley system that lifted 10 pounds, 10 whole pounds. That's amazing, buddy," Michael said, his enthusiasm genuine. "Show me how it works." As Lucas dragged Michael back to the exhibit, Hannah sat on the bench and let herself process what had just happened. They'd said it, out loud. They loved each other. This wasn't just casual dating or temporary companionship. This was real. This was the foundation of something that could last. It was still terrifying. But for the first time, Hannah let herself believe that maybe it was possible, that maybe not everyone left, that maybe sometimes people stayed because they wanted to, not because they had to. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Henderson, how's the museum? Lucas having fun? Hannah smiled and typed back, he's having the time of his life. Michael planned the whole day around his interests. That man is a keeper. Don't let fear talk you out of happiness. I'm trying not to. It's harder than it sounds. I know, baby, but you're doing great. Just keep letting him in, one day at a time. They stayed at the museum until closing, Lucas exhausted but happy, his camera full of photos and his head full of new knowledge. On the drive home, he fell asleep in the back seat, and Hannah and Michael talked quietly in the front seat. Thank you for today, Hannah said. For all of this. You made it so special for him. I wanted to. He's important to me. Michael glanced at her. You're both important to me. The most important thing in my life, actually. That's a lot of pressure. It's not pressure. It's just truth. Work used to be everything. Now it's just what I do to fund the life I actually want to live. And the life I want is with you and Lucas, days like today, normal, wonderful days with the people I love. Hannah reached over and took his hand. I want that too. I'm still scared, but I want it. Being scared is okay. We'll be scared together. When they reached Hannah's apartment building, Michael helped carry a sleeping Lucas upstairs. They moved quietly through the apartment, Michael gently laying Lucas on his bed, while Hannah removed his shoes and pulled the blanket over him. In the dim light of Lucas's bedroom, surrounded by posters of planets and stars, Michael whispered, "He's going to do great things someday." I hope so. I hope I can give him enough opportunities to reach his potential. You will. We will. Michael caught himself. I mean, if you want, if it's okay for me to think of it as we. I don't want to overstep. Hannah took his hand and led him out to the living room. It's okay. I like we. It's going to take some getting used to, but I like it. They sat on her couch, and Hannah curled against Michael's side, feeling safe in a way she'd forgotten was possible. Can I ask you something? Anything. What do you see when you look at me? Really? Not the flattering stuff you say when you're trying to be nice. What do you actually see? Michael was quiet for a moment, thinking. I see someone who's been knocked down repeatedly and keeps getting back up. I see a woman who loves so fiercely that she restructured her entire life for a grieving child without hesitation. I see a teacher who believes every kid deserves a chance, who fights for them even when the system doesn't. I see someone who's been hurt but hasn't let it make her cruel, someone who's struggling but hasn't given up, someone who's scared but brave anyway. That sounds better than I feel most days. That's because we can't see ourselves clearly. We only see our doubts and fears and failures, but I see the whole picture, and the whole picture is remarkable. Hannah tilted her head up to look at him. I love you. I'm terrified to say it, but I do. I love you. Michael's smile could have lit the entire city. I love you too. So much. He kissed her then, gentle and sweet, and Hannah let herself sink into it, let herself believe it, let herself have this moment of pure happiness without worrying about what came next. When they finally pulled apart, Michael rested his forehead against hers. I know you're scared. I know this feels fast and uncertain. But Hannah, I promise I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me now. Good, Hannah whispered, because I don't want you to go anywhere. And sitting there in her small, worn apartment with the man she loved, with her nephew sleeping safely down the hall, Hannah felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of problems. Those still existed, would always exist, but the presence of support, of love, of someone choosing to share the burden instead of leaving her to carry it alone. It was just a beginning. There would be hard days ahead, moments of doubt, challenges to overcome, but for the first time Hannah believed they could overcome them. Together. Because Michael was right. Love wasn't about perfect circumstances or absence of fear. It was about showing up for each other day after day, choosing each other over and over again. And Hannah was ready to make that choice, scared but ready, uncertain but hopeful. Ready to build something real with someone who saw her, valued her, loved her exactly as she was. 6 weeks after their day at the museum, Hannah woke up on a Tuesday morning to Mrs. Henderson pounding on her door with an urgency that made her heart leap into her throat. "What's wrong?" Hannah asked, throwing the door open in her pajamas. "Is it Lucas? Is he—" "He's fine, he's still sleeping," Mrs. Henderson said, her eyes bright with something between excitement and disbelief. "But honey, you need to come see something, right now." "See what?" "Mrs. Henderson, I'm not even dressed. Put on a robe. This can't wait." Something in her neighbor's tone made Hannah comply without further argument. She grabbed her worn bathrobe, shoved her feet into slippers, and followed Mrs. Henderson down the stairs and out the building's front door. And there, parked directly in front of their building, was a compact red Honda Civic, brand new, gleaming in the early morning light, with an enormous white bow on the hood. Hannah stopped so abruptly she nearly tripped. "What? That's not— What is that doing there?" "There's an envelope," Mrs. Henderson said, pointing to the windshield, "with your name on it." Hannah approached the car like it might vanish if she moved too quickly. Her hands shook as she pulled the envelope from under the wiper blade. Inside was a card in Michael's careful handwriting. She read it once, then again, then a third time because her brain refused to process the words. "What does it say?" Mrs. Henderson asked, barely containing her excitement. "He bought me a car," Hannah whispered. "Michael bought me a car. It's titled in my name. The insurance is paid for a year. He bought me a car." "Oh, honey," Mrs. Henderson breathed, "that man really loves you." Hannah's knees felt weak. "This is too much. This is way too much. I can't accept this. I have to give it back." "Give back a car?" "Yes, Mrs. Henderson. Do you understand what this means? This is thousands and thousands of dollars. I can't accept something like this from him. It's not right. It's too much." It's someone who loves you trying to make your life easier," Mrs. Henderson interrupted gently. "Hannah, baby, read that note again. Really read it. Is he trying to control you? To make you dependent on him?" Hannah looked at the note again, at Michael's words about freedom and safety and dignity, about not wanting her to wait at bus stops in dangerous cold, about giving her independence, not taking it away. "I don't know," she admitted, feeling overwhelmed. "I don't know what this means. I don't know how to accept something like this." "Then call him, talk to him. But Hannah, don't reject this out of fear. Don't push away a good thing because you're scared it might end." Hannah went back inside, her mind spinning. Lucas was awake now, eating cereal at the table, oblivious to the car outside. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands and called Michael. He answered on the first ring. "You found it?" "Michael, what did you do?" Hannah's voice came out higher than intended. "I gave you a car. Did you read the note?" "Yes, I read the note. Michael, you can't just buy me a car." "I can, actually. I did. And before you argue, please just listen for a minute." "I'm listening," Hannah said, pacing her small living room. "I've been thinking about this for weeks. Every time you text me that the bus is late, every time I see you worrying about transportation, every time I think about you standing in the cold at bus stops, it eats at me, Hannah. I have resources sitting idle while you struggle with something I could easily fix. That's not right. That's not okay. But Michael, I'm not done. I know you're going to say this is too much, that you can't accept it, that it makes you dependent on me. But Hannah, that's exactly backwards. This car gives you independence. You don't have to rely on a failing transit system anymore. You don't have to depend on me for rides. You can go where you need to go, when you need to go there. This isn't about control. It's about freedom. It's thousands of dollars. It's a fraction of what I have. Hannah, this doesn't even register as an expense for me. It's less than what I spent on business dinners last month. Please, please, don't let pride stop you from accepting something that will genuinely improve your life." Hannah sank onto her couch, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know how to accept this." It's too big. It's too much. Then don't think of it as accepting a gift from me. Think of it as accepting what you deserve. Safe, reliable transportation. The ability to take Lucas places without calculating bus routes. Security in knowing you can get to him quickly if there's an emergency. You deserve these things, Hannah. The fact that you don't have them isn't because you haven't worked hard enough or aren't worthy. It's because the system is broken. I'm just correcting an injustice. That's not how this works, Michael. You can't just throw money at systemic injustice and fix it. I can't fix the whole system, but I can fix it for you. And Hannah, I love you. I want to spend my life with you. Doesn't that mean I should want to make your life easier when I can? Those words, spend my life with you, made Hannah's breath catch. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm serious about us, about you and Lucas, about building a future together. And part of that means sharing resources. This car isn't some random gift. It's me investing in our future, in making sure you're safe, in giving Lucas's guardian reliable transportation. Aunt Hannah. Lucas appeared in the doorway, drawn by her tears. Why are you crying? Is something wrong? Hannah wiped her eyes quickly. No, buddy, nothing's wrong. Go finish your breakfast, okay? Lucas hesitated, then went back to the kitchen. Hannah took a shaky breath. Lucas just saw me crying. He's going to think something terrible happened. Then go show him the car, Michael said gently. Show him that sometimes tears are happy, that sometimes good things happen. Michael, I still don't know if I can accept this. Will you at least think about it? Don't make a decision right now. Just think about it. Think about what it would mean for Lucas to have reliable transportation. Think about not being stranded in the cold. Think about the freedom and security it would give you. And if I decide I can't keep it, then we'll figure something else out. But Hannah, I really hope you keep it, because you deserve it. And because I love you and I want you to be safe. After hanging up, Hannah sat on her couch for a long time, staring at the car keys that Mrs. Henderson had left on her counter. A car, a brand new car, with her name on the title. No strings attached, according to Michael, just hers. Aunt Hannah? Lucas appeared again. Mrs. Henderson says there's a car outside with a bow on it. Can we go see? Hannah looked at her nephew's curious face and made a decision. Yeah, buddy, let's go see. They went outside together, Lucas immediately running to the car with excited wonder. Is this ours, really? Maybe, Hannah said carefully. Michael gave it to me. I'm still deciding if we should keep it. Why wouldn't we keep it? It's so cool. Lucas pressed his face against the window. It has a screen inside, and the seats look really comfortable. Hannah unlocked it with the key fob, and they climbed inside. The interior smelled new, leather and possibility. Lucas bounced in the back seat, while Hannah sat in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, feeling the weight of this decision. In the glove compartment, she found exactly what Michael had promised. Registration, title, insurance documents, all in her name. Also, a gas card with a note. For the first few months. No obligation. Her phone rang. Michael again. I'm sorry for calling back so quickly, but I need to say one more thing. What? This doesn't change who you are. You're still the same strong, independent person you were yesterday. The car is just a tool. It doesn't define you. It doesn't make you dependent on me. It just makes your life easier. That's all. Tools don't change our character, Hannah. They just help us do what we already do, but better. Hannah closed her eyes, feeling the truth of his words. I'm scared. I know. But being scared doesn't mean you're making the wrong choice. What if this ends? What if you leave and I have this car that reminds me every day of what I lost? Then you sell it and buy something else with the money. Hannah, the car is in your name. It's legally yours. What you do with it is completely your choice. I can't take it back. I won't take it back. It's yours regardless of what happens between us. You keep saying that. But how do I believe it? By trusting me. I know that's hard. I know people have broken your trust before. But I'm asking you to try. Just try to believe that I mean what I say. Lucas climbed into the front seat, touching the dashboard with careful reverence. Aunt Hannah, can we keep it? Please. We could drive to school instead of taking the bus. And we could visit the library whenever we want, and go to the park without walking forever. Hannah looked at her nephew's hopeful face, at the excitement in his eyes, and felt her resistance crumbling. Because Michael was right about one thing. This wasn't just about her pride or her fear. This was about Lucas too, about giving him safer, easier transportation, about having reliable means to get to him in an emergency. Okay, she said quietly into the phone. Okay, I'll keep it. But Michael, we need to talk about this, about us, about boundaries and expectations, because I can't keep accepting huge gifts without understanding what you expect in return. I expect nothing except for you to be safe and happy. But yes, let's talk. Can I come over tonight, after Lucas goes to bed? Yes, come over tonight. Thank you, Hannah, for trusting me, for giving me a chance to help. It means everything. After hanging up, Hannah sat in the car with Lucas, and for the first time since finding it, she let herself feel the full weight of what this meant. Michael had given her freedom, independence, security, things she'd been desperately needing but had been too proud to accept. And he'd done it because he loved her, not to control her or make her dependent, but because he genuinely wanted her life to be easier. Should we drive it? Lucas asked hopefully. Just around the block? Hannah looked at her nephew, at his excitement, at his hope for something better, and she thought about Sarah, about what her sister would say if she were here. Sarah would tell her to stop being so stubborn, to accept help when it was offered, to let people love her without making it so damn difficult. Yeah, Hannah said, starting the engine. Let's take it for a drive. The car drove smoothly. The heater worked perfectly. And Lucas couldn't stop talking about all the places they could go now. And Hannah, despite all her complicated feelings, despite the fear and uncertainty still churning in her chest, felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. Pure, uncomplicated hope. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of trust that someone could love her enough to want to make her life easier, and that accepting that love didn't make her weak. It made her brave enough to believe in good things. Hannah made it through exactly 4 hours before the panic set in completely. She'd driven Lucas to school, the first time ever arriving by car instead of bus, and her students had noticed immediately. "Ms. Miller, you have a car now," one of them had shouted during morning circle time. "I do," Hannah had said, forcing a smile. "Is it new? It looks really new." "Yes, it's new." "Did you buy it?" another student asked with the blunt curiosity of 5-year-olds. "It was a gift," Hannah had said, and immediately felt the weight of that admission. A gift. A car worth probably $20,000. A gift from a man she'd known for less than 3 months. What did that make her? What did people think when they heard that? By lunchtime, word had spread through the school. Hannah saw the whispers, the looks from other teachers. And then Melissa cornered her in the staff room. "So," Melissa said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "I heard you got a new car. That's the red Honda outside, right?" "Yes," Hannah said simply, getting her lunch from the fridge. "Tara said it looks brand new. You must have gotten a great deal." "It was a gift." Melissa's eyebrows shot up. "A gift from who?" "That's personal. Come on, Hannah, you can tell us." Tara had appeared, drawn by gossip like a shark to blood. "Who gives someone a car as a gift?" "Someone who cares about my safety," Hannah said, keeping her voice level. "Someone wealthy, you mean?" Melissa said. "So there really is a man, a rich one." "Yes, there's a man, and yes, he has money. Is there a point to this conversation?" "No point," Melissa said, exchanging a look with Tara. "Just interesting. A few months ago you were taking the bus, and now you're driving a brand new car. Things certainly changed quickly for you." The implication was clear, and it made Hannah's stomach turn, but she refused to engage. "If you'll excuse me, I have papers to grade." She fled to her classroom, her lunch forgotten, and that's when the full weight of it crashed down on her. What had she done? She'd accepted a fucking car, from a man she barely knew. Everyone would think she was being kept, that she was exchanging something for his generosity, that she was exactly the kind of woman who used men for their money. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone and called Michael. "Hey," he answered warmly. "How was the drive to school? Did Lucas—" "I can't keep it," Hannah interrupted, her voice tight. "Michael, I'm sorry, but I can't. This is too much. I thought I could, but I can't." There was a pause. What happened? Reality happened. "My colleagues are gossiping. People are making assumptions about why you gave me a car, about what that means, about what I am. And I can't do this. It's too much, too fast. I need to give it back." "Hannah, take a breath. Tell me exactly what happened." Hannah recounted the conversation with Melissa and Tara, hearing her voice rise with each word. "They think I'm some kind of— I don't even know what they think, but it's nothing good. And maybe they're right. Maybe accepting something this expensive from you does make me that person. Maybe—" "Stop," Michael said firmly. "Hannah, stop. First of all, fuck Melissa and Tara. They're jealous, petty people who've been cruel to you from the beginning. Their opinions mean nothing. But they're not wrong. They are wrong, completely wrong. You're not that person, whatever you think that means. You're a woman who's been struggling and finally accepted help from someone who loves her. That's all. That's the entire story. But Michael, do you understand what this looks like? A broke teacher suddenly driving a new car that someone else bought her? It looks like someone who deserves reliable transportation finally has it. That's what it looks like. And anyone who sees it differently is revealing more about their own judgmental nature than about you." "I don't think I can do this," Hannah said, and she was crying now, tears streaming down her face in her empty classroom. "I thought I could, but I can't. It feels wrong. It feels like I'm losing myself, like I'm becoming dependent on you in ways I swore I'd never be dependent on anyone." "Okay," Michael said, his voice gentle. "Okay. Can we talk about this in person? I can come to you right now. We can figure this out together." "I'm at work." "Then after work, meet me somewhere. Please, Hannah. Let's talk this through face to face before you make any final decisions." Hannah wiped her eyes, trying to calm down. "Okay, there's a park near my school. I can meet you there at 3:30. I'll be there. And Hannah? Yeah? I love you. That hasn't changed. Whatever we decide about the car, that doesn't change, okay?" "Okay," Hannah whispered. The rest of the school day dragged by with agonizing slowness. Hannah's students sensed her distress and were unusually wild, feeding off her anxious energy. By the time the final bell rang, she was exhausted emotionally and physically. She drove to the park, in the car she was planning to give back, and found Michael already waiting on a bench, looking more serious than she'd ever seen him. "Hi," she said, sitting down beside him but maintaining distance. "Hi." Michael turned to face her. "Before you say anything, I need to tell you something. Several things, actually. Will you hear me out?" Hannah nodded, not trusting her voice. "First, I need to be completely honest with you about my financial situation. I told you I was wealthy, but I wasn't specific. Hannah, my company is worth about $40 million. My personal net worth is around $30 million. I know that probably sounds insane to you. It still sounds insane to me sometimes." Hannah felt dizzy. $30 million. She couldn't even conceptualize that amount of money. "I grew up poor," Michael continued. "Really poor. My mother worked herself to death trying to give me opportunities. When she died, I promised myself two things. First, that I'd never forget where I came from, and second, that if I ever had the means to help people who were struggling the way we struggled, I would." "Michael, please let me finish. That car isn't a huge expense for me, Hannah. To me, it's the equivalent of you buying coffee for someone. It's such a tiny fraction of my resources that it literally doesn't impact my life in any meaningful way. But it impacts yours enormously. That's not me being generous, that's just redistribution of resources to where they're actually needed. That's not how the world works, Hannah said. You can't just give people cars because you have extra money. Why not? Michael challenged. Who made that rule? Society tells us it's normal for me to have $30 million I don't need while you struggle to buy groceries. That's considered fine, natural, the way things should be. But me using a tiny portion of that money to make your life easier is somehow wrong. That math doesn't make sense to me. Hannah shook her head. Because it creates a power imbalance. You have all the resources and I have none, which means you have all the power in this relationship. Do I? Michael asked quietly. Because from where I'm sitting, you have all the power. You could walk away right now and destroy me emotionally. You could tell me you don't want to see me again, and I'd have to accept that. The money doesn't give me power over you, Hannah. It just means I have different resources to bring to the relationship. But what happens when you get bored? When you realize that dating a poor teacher is more complicated than it's worth, then I've accepted this huge thing from you, and I'm stuck with it. Then you keep it anyway, Michael said firmly. Because even if we don't work out, which I don't believe will happen, you still deserve reliable transportation. Your worth isn't conditional on our relationship status. How can you be so sure you won't leave? Hannah demanded. Everyone leaves. My parents left, Sarah left, every man I've ever dated left because I was too much, or too poor, or too complicated. Because I'm in love with you, Michael said intensely. Not falling, already fallen. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. I love your strength and your dedication, and how fiercely you love Lucas. I love that you challenge me, that you don't let me get away with anything, that you see past the money to the person underneath. Hannah felt tears streaming down her face again. How do I know you mean that? How do I know this isn't just, I don't know, some wealthy guy's project? Fix the poor teacher, feel good about yourself, then move on? Michael's face went pale. Is that what you think, that you're a project to me? I don't know what to think. This is all happening so fast and I can't keep up. 2 months ago, I was standing alone at a bus stop, and now I'm driving a new car, and you're telling me you love me, and I don't understand how any of this is real. Hannah, look at me. Michael waited until she met his eyes. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to really hear it. You're not a project. You're not charity. You're not some poor person I'm helping to make myself feel better. You're the woman I'm in love with, the woman I want to spend my life with, the woman who makes me want to be better, do better, use everything I have for something that actually matters. What are you saying? I'm saying I want a future with you, marriage, family, building a life together. I want to be Lucas's stepdad. I want to wake up next to you every morning and go to bed with you every night. I want to support your teaching and help you create opportunities for your students. I want us to be partners in everything. Hannah couldn't breathe. Michael, I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a couple of months, but when you know, and I know. You're it for me, Hannah. You're the person I've been waiting for without even realizing I was waiting. I'm terrified, Hannah whispered. Me too. But being terrified doesn't mean we're making a mistake. Sometimes the best things are terrifying. They sat in silence for a moment, Hannah trying to process everything. Finally, she said, I don't know how to accept this. The car, your love, all of it. I don't know how to trust that it won't all fall apart. Then start small, Michael said. Keep the car because it's practical and you need it. Let me love you because I do whether you accept it or not. Take things one day at a time. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. But what about the power imbalance? What about the fact that you can give me things I can never give you? You give me things I can never give myself, Michael said. You give me purpose, connection, Love. A reason to use my wealth for something meaningful. You've made me remember why I wanted to be successful in the first place. Not to accumulate money, but to make a difference. That's worth more than any car, Hannah. That's worth everything. Hannah looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the truth written on his face. He meant it. All of it. This wasn't a game or a project or a temporary fascination. This was real. I love you too, she said quietly. I've been fighting it because it terrifies me, but I do. I love you. Michael's face transformed with relief and joy. Say it again. I love you. I'm scared and confused, and I don't understand how this is my life now, but I love you. He closed the distance between them and pulled her into his arms, and Hannah let herself sink into him, let herself feel the solid warmth of him, the steady beat of his heart. They held each other for a long time while the afternoon sun painted everything gold. So, Michael said finally, his voice muffled against her hair, are you keeping the car? Hannah laughed through her tears. Yes, I'm keeping the car, and I'm keeping you too, if that offer's still open. That offer is permanent, Michael said. No expiration date. You're stuck with me now. Good, Hannah whispered, because I don't want to do this alone anymore. You never have to be alone again. I'm here. I'm staying. For as long as you'll have me. And sitting there in the park, in Michael's arms, with the red Honda waiting in the parking lot and a future full of possibility stretching ahead, Hannah finally let herself believe it. Believe that sometimes good things happen to good people, that accepting help didn't make you weak, that love could be real and lasting and true. It was still terrifying, but it was also, finally, starting to feel like home. 3 weeks after the car conversation, Hannah found herself standing in front of Michael's penthouse door, Lucas beside her, both of them carrying overnight bags. Michael had invited them to stay the weekend, and after much internal debate, Hannah had said yes. This is where Michael lives? Lucas asked, eyes wide, as they stood in the hallway of one of Chicago's most expensive buildings. This is it, Hannah confirmed, pressing the buzzer. The door swung open immediately, Michael's face lighting up when he saw them. You made it! Come in, come in! They stepped inside and Lucas gasped. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lake Michigan, the afternoon sun making the water sparkle like diamonds. The space was enormous. Hannah's entire apartment could fit in Michael's living room alone. Whoa! Lucas breathed. This is like a movie house. Michael laughed. It's a bit much, isn't it? I keep telling myself I should downsize, but I never get around to it. Lucas, want to see your room? My room? Well, the guest room, but I set it up with some stuff I thought you might like. Come on. Hannah followed as Michael led Lucas down a hallway to a bedroom that was easily twice the size of Lucas's room at home. But what made Lucas stop in his tracks was the telescope by the window and the glow-in-the-dark stars covering the ceiling in accurate constellations. You got me a telescope. Lucas's voice was awed. Well, it's technically mine, but you can use it whenever you're here. I thought we could look at the stars tonight if it's clear. And see these constellations. I made sure they're scientifically accurate. That's Orion there, and that's Ursa Major. Hannah watched them, her throat tight. Michael had done this for Lucas, had thought about what would make him happy and created it. This wasn't just hosting them for a weekend. This was making space for them in his life. Later, after Lucas had thoroughly explored his room and they'd eaten dinner, pizza at Lucas's request, Hannah helped clean up while Lucas was absorbed in a documentary about Mars. Thank you, Hannah said quietly, loading the dishwasher. For the telescope, for the constellations, for making him feel welcome here. Of course, he's important to me. Michael handed her another plate. Hannah, can I talk to you about something? Her stomach clenched. That question always makes me nervous. Oh, this is good nervous, I hope. Michael dried his hands and turned to face her. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about power imbalances and feeling dependent. and I want to do something about it." "What do you mean?" "I want to hire you." Hannah blinked. "What?" "Not as an employee," Michael clarified quickly, "but as a consultant. I'm expanding my affordable housing project, and I need someone who understands the actual needs of teachers, low-income families, the people who would live in these buildings. I need your perspective, your expertise, and I'd pay you consultant rates, which are substantial. This would be a real job, Hannah. You'd be earning money, contributing professionally, using your knowledge to shape something important." Hannah stared at him. "You want to pay me to tell you what poor people need in housing? I want to pay you to bring your lived experience and professional expertise to a project that could help hundreds of families. Your insights about what teachers need, what families need, what makes housing actually livable versus just affordable. That's valuable knowledge, and you should be compensated for it." "Michael, that sounds like you're just trying to give me money in a way that makes me feel less guilty about accepting it." "It's not," Michael said firmly. "I genuinely need this perspective. I've been making decisions based on what I think people need, but I should be asking people who actually know. You're a teacher in the public school system. You work with low-income families every day. You've lived the struggle of finding affordable housing. That's expertise, Hannah. Real valuable expertise that I should be paying for." Hannah leaned against the counter, processing. What would this actually involve? Meetings with the development team, site visits to proposed locations, input on floor plans, amenities, what actually matters to families versus what developers think matters, maybe 4 to 6 hours a week on your schedule. And I'd pay you $50 an hour. $50 an hour. That's the going rate for consultants. Actually, it's on the low end, but I figured you'd argue if I went higher. Hannah did the math in her head. 4 hours a week at $50 an hour was $200. That was almost a third of her monthly grocery budget in a single week. That's a lot of money. That's what your expertise is worth. So, will you do it? "I need to think about it," Hannah said. "This feels like, I don't know, like you're creating a job just to help me. I'm creating a job because I need the help, and you're qualified to provide it. Hannah, I was going to hire a consultant anyway. I just realized the person I needed was already in my life." Before Hannah could respond, Lucas called from the living room. "Michael, the documentary says there's going to be a meteor shower tonight. Can we watch it from your balcony?" "Absolutely," Michael called back, then turned to Hannah. "Think about the consultant thing. No pressure. But I really do need your help, and I'd rather pay you for it than some stranger who doesn't understand what we're trying to accomplish." That night, after Lucas had fallen asleep in the guest room, exhausted from stargazing, Hannah and Michael sat on his couch with glasses of wine, the city lights twinkling below them. "Can I ask you something?" Hannah said. "Always. Do you ever worry that we're moving too fast, that we're building something on a foundation that hasn't had time to settle?" Michael considered this. "Sometimes, but then I remember that time isn't really the measure of a solid foundation. Some people date for years and never really know each other. We've been real with each other from the beginning, honest about our fears and needs and complications. That honesty is the foundation, not the length of time. I'm scared I'm going to wake up one day and you'll realize what you signed up for," Hannah admitted. "A struggling teacher with a kid who isn't even hers. Someone who comes with debt and trauma and responsibilities you didn't ask for." "Hannah, look at me." Michael waited until she met his eyes. "I didn't sign up for anything. I fell in love with you, with all of you. Lucas isn't a burden. He's a bonus. Your responsibilities aren't complications. They're part of who you are, and who you are is someone I love. What about when things get hard? When I'm exhausted and stressed and not fun to be around? Then I'll be there. I'll make dinner, or take Lucas to the park so you can rest, or just sit with you while you decompress. That's what partners do, Hannah. They show up for the hard parts, not just the easy ones." I don't know how to be a partner, Hannah confessed. I've been alone for so long. I'm used to handling everything myself. Then we'll learn together. I'm not great at it either. I've spent years using work to avoid emotional connection, but we'll figure it out. Make mistakes, fix them, keep trying. Hannah set down her wine glass and shifted closer to him. What do you see when you look at our future? Specifically, not vague ideas, but actual details. Michael smiled, pulling her against his side. I see Lucas growing up, getting taller than both of us, going to college, probably somewhere with a good aerospace program. I see you still teaching, but not struggling. Maybe running that foundation we talked about, helping other teachers. I see us in a house, not this penthouse, somewhere with a yard where Lucas can play. Maybe a dog. Definitely a dog. Lucas would love a dog. We can't have a dog in my apartment. I know, which is why I hope you'll move in here. Or we find a place together. Something that feels like ours, not mine or yours. Hannah's heart raced. You want us to move in together? Eventually. Not tomorrow. But yeah, I want us to build a life together. A real life. Shared space. Shared responsibilities. Shared future. What if I'm terrible to live with? What if I'm messy or annoying or... Then we'll figure it out, Michael said simply. Hannah, stop looking for reasons this won't work. Maybe try believing it could work. That's hard for me. I know. But I'm patient. I'll keep showing up, keep proving myself, until you believe it. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, Hannah processing everything. Finally, she said, I'll do it. The consultant job. If you really think I can help. Really? Really? You're right. I do have perspective that could be valuable. And I could use the money. Lucas needs new shoes again and his birthday is coming up and... Hannah, Michael interrupted gently. You don't have to justify why you need money. Just accept that your expertise is valuable and you deserve to be paid for it. I'm working on that, the accepting things part. It's harder than it sounds. I know, but you're getting better at it. You kept the car. You're here this weekend. You're letting me in. That's progress. Over the next month, Hannah fell into a new rhythm. She taught during the day, spent evenings with Lucas, and twice a week met with Michael's development team to consult on the affordable housing project. Her input was genuinely valued. The team actually implemented her suggestions about floor plans, about community spaces, about what amenities mattered to actual families versus what looked good on paper, and she was getting paid for it. Real money that went into her account every week. Money she'd earned herself, not accepted as charity. It felt good in ways she hadn't anticipated. You were right, she told Michael one evening after a particularly productive planning session. I was qualified for this. They actually listen to me. Of course they do. You're giving them insights they couldn't get anywhere else. Michael looked proud. How does it feel? Being a consultant? Like I'm contributing something meaningful. Like my experiences matter beyond just surviving them. They do matter. They always did. I'm just glad you're getting paid to share them now. One Saturday morning, Michael showed up at Hannah's apartment with a serious expression. Can we talk, all three of us? Hannah's stomach dropped. Is something wrong? No, something's right. I just want to discuss it together. They sat at Hannah's small kitchen table, Lucas between them, sensing this was important. Lucas, Michael began, you know I care about you and your Aunt Hannah a lot, right? Lucas nodded. Your Aunt Hannah's boyfriend. I am. And I'd like to be more than that. I'd like to be someone permanent in your lives. Someone you can count on to be here. Like a dad? Lucas asked carefully. Kind of like that. I know I'm not your dad. And I'm not trying to replace your mom or your dad. But I'd like to be a father figure for you. Someone who shows up for school events and helps with homework and teaches you stuff. Would that be okay with you? Lucas was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, Will you leave, like my real dad did? Hannah's heart broke at the question. But Michael didn't hesitate. "I'm not planning to leave. I love you and your Aunt Hannah, and I want to be part of your family for a really long time. I can't promise that nothing bad will ever happen. Nobody can promise that. But I can promise that I'm choosing to be here, that I want to be here." "Okay," Lucas said, after another pause. "You can be like a dad, but you have to come to my school play next month. I'll be there, front row, and you have to help me build the rocket I want to make." "Absolutely. We'll start planning it this weekend. And you have to be nice to Aunt Hannah even when she's grumpy." Michael laughed. "Especially when she's grumpy. Deal." They shook hands solemnly, and Hannah had to excuse herself to the bathroom to cry. When she came back, Michael was showing Lucas videos of rocket launches, both of them absorbed in the screen. Later, after Lucas had gone to his room, Michael pulled Hannah onto his lap. "That went well, I think." "He loves you," Hannah said. "He's never asked anyone if they'd be like a dad before. You're the first person he's trusted with that. I know, and I don't take it lightly. I'm going to be there for him, Hannah, for both of you, whatever it takes." "I'm starting to believe you," Hannah admitted, "which terrifies me, but I am." "Good, because I meant every word." Michael kissed her forehead. "We're building something real here, something lasting. I can feel it." And sitting in her small apartment that suddenly felt like home, with Lucas safe down the hall and Michael's arms around her, Hannah let herself feel it too. The foundation they were building, the future they were creating, the family they were becoming. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, still moments of doubt, still the occasional argument about money or boundaries or what came next. But underneath all of that was something solid, something real. Love built not on grand gestures or financial rescue, but on showing up, on choosing each other every day, on building a life together one small decision at a time. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Hannah felt truly, completely hopeful about what came next. 6 months after the red Honda appeared in Hannah's life, she pulled into the Meadowbrook Elementary parking lot on a Monday morning and felt something she'd never felt before: complete peace. Not the absence of problems, those still existed, but the presence of security, of knowing she could handle whatever came because she wasn't facing it alone anymore. She was gathering her bags when she heard it. The whispers. She looked up to see Melissa and Tara standing near the entrance, their eyes on her car, their expressions a mixture of shock and something that looked like envy. Hannah took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and walked toward them. "Good morning, Melissa." "Tara," she said pleasantly. "Hannah." Melissa's smile was forced. "That car is still running well, I see." "It is. Very reliable." Hannah kept her tone neutral, professional. "Must be nice," Tara said with an edge to her voice, "having someone buy you expensive things." 6 months ago, Hannah would have shrunk from this confrontation, would have felt shame or defensiveness. But 6 months of Michael's love, of Lucas's happiness, of building something real, had changed her. She met Tara's eyes directly. "It is nice," Hannah said calmly. "It's nice to have someone in my life who cares about my safety and wants to help. It's nice to not worry about being stranded in dangerous cold anymore. It's nice to be loved by someone who shows it through actions, not just words." "We didn't mean—" Melissa started. "Yes, you did," Hannah interrupted, not unkindly, but firmly. "You've been making assumptions and judgments since the day this car appeared. So let me be clear. I'm in a relationship with a wonderful man who treats me with respect and kindness. He gave me this car because he loves me and wanted to make my life easier. Not because he expects anything in return. Not because I'm some kind of gold digger or kept woman or whatever you've decided I am, just because he loves me. That's not what we thought. Melissa, you literally said, must be nice having someone buy you expensive things with judgment dripping from every word. Let's not pretend." Hannah adjusted her bag on her shoulder. "Here's the thing, I spent 3 years struggling. 3 years buying classroom supplies I couldn't afford, 3 years taking buses in dangerous conditions, 3 years being looked down on by colleagues who had more financial stability. And you know what? I'm done apologizing for the fact that my life got better. I'm done feeling guilty because someone chose to help me. Tara's face flushed. We weren't trying to make you feel guilty. Then maybe examine why you feel the need to comment on my car every time you see me, why you whisper about my relationship, why you can't seem to just be happy that a fellow teacher's life improved. Hannah's voice softened slightly. I deserve happiness. I deserve security. I deserve love. We all do. And I'm not going to apologize for accepting those things when they're offered. She walked past them into the school, her heart pounding but her head high. Behind her she heard Melissa say quietly, She's right. We've been awful. Yeah, Tara agreed, sounding ashamed. We really have. Hannah's day flew by in a blur of kindergarten chaos, finger-painting disasters, 2 playground conflicts, 1 lost tooth, and countless moments of watching 5-year-olds discover new things. During lunch, she texted Michael about the morning confrontation. I told them off, politely but firmly. I'm proud of myself. His response came immediately. I'm proud of you too. You deserve to stand up for yourself and for us. How do you feel? Liberated. Like I finally stopped letting other people's judgments define my worth. That's my girl, love you. Dinner tonight? Always. Lucas wants tacos. Tacos it is. I'll pick up ingredients on the way. 3 weeks later, Michael asked Hannah and Lucas to meet him at the site of the affordable housing development. I want to show you something, was all he'd say. They arrived to find the first building nearly complete, the scaffolding coming down to reveal modern, attractive apartments with large windows and welcoming entrances. This is amazing, Hannah breathed, looking at what they'd helped create. Her input over the past months had shaped these buildings, the community spaces, the layouts, the amenities that actually mattered to families. Come inside, Michael said, leading them through the main entrance. I want you to see Unit 304. They took the elevator up, and Michael unlocked the door to a corner unit with huge windows overlooking a small park. The apartment was beautiful. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, plenty of space, far nicer than Hannah's current place. This is gorgeous, Hannah said, walking through the rooms. The families who live here are going to love it. I hope so, Michael said. Especially the family I'm hoping will take this specific unit. Hannah turned to look at him. What? I want you and Lucas to live here. Michael, I can't afford. The rent is calculated on a sliding scale based on income. On a teacher's salary, your rent here would be about what you're paying now. Maybe less, actually. This is what affordable housing means, Hannah. It means teachers and nurses and social workers can live in safe, nice places. People like you. Hannah walked to the window, looking out at the park where children were playing. Lucas had already found the second bedroom and was examining it with interest. Michael, this is... I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. This unit won't be available for another month anyway. But Hannah, imagine Lucas growing up here. Safe neighborhood, good schools nearby, a park right outside. Imagine not worrying about your building falling apart or the elevator breaking or the heating not working in winter. You planned this, Hannah said, turning to face him. The whole development. You designed it thinking about me. I designed it thinking about people like you, Michael corrected gently. Teachers, essential workers, people who make our city function but get priced out of decent housing. You helped shape it. Your input made it what it is. And yes, I'd love for you to live here. But Hannah, even if you say no, this building will still help 20 other families who need it. That matters. Lucas ran back into the living room. Aunt Hannah, my room has a huge closet, and I can see the park from my window. Can we really live here? Hannah looked at her nephew's excited face, at Michael's hopeful expression, at the beautiful apartment that could be their home. Can I think about it? Of course, Michael said immediately. Take all the time you need. The offer stands whenever you're ready. That evening, after Lucas was asleep, Hannah called Mrs. Henderson. He wants us to move to one of the new affordable housing units. The ones you helped design? Yeah. It's beautiful, Mrs. Henderson. Safe, modern, perfect for Lucas, but accepting it feels like accepting more help than you're comfortable with, Mrs. Henderson finished. Yes, exactly that. Hannah, baby, let me ask you something. If a friend told you she'd been offered a nice, affordable apartment in a safe neighborhood, would you tell her not to take it because the man she loves happens to own the building? That's different. It's not different. You're letting pride get in the way of what's best for you and Lucas. That apartment isn't charity. You'd be paying rent, helping fund a project you helped create. You're not taking anything you haven't earned. Hannah was quiet, processing. When did you get so wise? I've been wise. You're just finally listening. Mrs. Henderson's voice softened. Take the apartment, Hannah. Give Lucas that safe neighborhood and good schools. Give yourself some peace of mind. You've earned it. 2 weeks later, Hannah and Lucas moved into Unit 304. Michael helped, along with Mrs. Henderson, who'd agreed to move to a unit on the first floor. Senior housing was part of the development too, at Hannah's suggestion. This doesn't feel real, Hannah said, standing in her new living room, sunlight streaming through the huge windows. 6 months ago, I was in that tiny apartment with broken heating. Now I'm here. You're here because you deserve to be here, Michael said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Because you worked hard, contributed meaningfully, and accepted help when it was offered. That's something to be proud of. Lucas ran through the apartment, his laughter echoing off the walls. Michael, come see how I organized my closet. Coming, buddy. Michael kissed Hannah's temple. You okay? Better than okay. Happy, actually, genuinely happy. 3 months after moving in on a Saturday morning, Michael showed up at their door with a serious expression and a small box in his hand. We need to talk, he said, and Hannah's stomach dropped. Okay, she managed. Lucas, go play in your room for a bit, okay? But, now please. Lucas retreated, sensing the gravity of the moment. Hannah sat on the couch, her hands shaking. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Michael sat beside her, taking her hands. Hannah, I've been thinking about this for months. About the right time, the right way. And I realize there's never going to be a perfect moment, so I'm just going to ask. He pulled out the small box and opened it, revealing a simple, elegant ring. Hannah Miller, will you marry me? Hannah stared at the ring, her brain struggling to process. What? I love you. I love Lucas. I want to spend the rest of my life building this family with you. I want to be Lucas's stepdad officially. I want us to be a real family, legally and in every other way. So will you marry me? Michael, Hannah felt tears streaming down her face. Are you sure? Really sure? Because I come with complications and responsibilities and I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I'm not asking despite those things. I'm asking because of them. Because you're the person I want beside me for everything. The hard parts and the easy parts, all of it. Lucas, Hannah called, her voice shaking. Come here. Lucas appeared in the doorway. What's happening? Michael just asked me to marry him, Hannah said. Lucas's eyes went wide. Really? So you'd be married? Like a real family? Like a real family, Michael confirmed. If your Aunt Hannah says yes, and if you're okay with it. Lucas ran across the room and threw his arms around Michael's neck. Yes, I'm okay with it. Say yes, Aunt Hannah. Hannah looked at them, her nephew and the man she loved, and felt the last of her resistance crumble. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. The engagement happened fast. 3 months from proposal to wedding. They kept it small. Close friends, Mrs. Henderson, a few colleagues who'd become genuine friends, and some of Michael's business associates who'd proven themselves decent humans. The ceremony took place in a botanical garden, surrounded by flowers and natural beauty. Lucas served as ring-bearer, beaming with pride in his little suit. Mrs. Henderson cried through the entire ceremony. "Do you, Hannah Miller, take Michael Carter to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Hannah looked at Michael, at this man who'd stopped at a bus stop and changed everything. "I do." "Do you, Michael Carter, take Hannah Miller to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I absolutely do," Michael said, his voice thick with emotion. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." As they kissed, the small gathering erupted in applause, and Hannah felt something settle deep in her soul. This was real. This was permanent. This was family built not on perfect circumstances, but on choosing each other, showing up, loving through the hard parts. The reception was joyful and relaxed. They danced, Hannah and Michael, Michael and Lucas, even Mrs. Henderson shuffling around with Lucas standing on her feet. There were toasts and laughter and tears of joy. During a quiet moment, Melissa approached Hannah. "I owe you an apology, a real one." Hannah looked at her former tormentor, surprised. "I was jealous," Melissa continued, "and mean, and I said things that were cruel and unfair. You were right. You deserve happiness, and I'm sorry I tried to make you feel bad for accepting it." "Thank you," Hannah said simply. "That means a lot." "For what it's worth, watching you over the past year, watching you accept help and build this life, it taught me something about strength. Real strength isn't doing everything alone. It's being brave enough to let people help you." After Melissa walked away, Michael found Hannah. "You okay?" "More than okay." She apologized. Actually apologized. "You deserve apologies, and respect, and everything good that's happening." Michael pulled her close. "Mrs. Carter." Hannah smiled. "That's going to take some getting used to. We have the rest of our lives for you to get used to it." Monday morning, Hannah drove to work in her red Honda, the car that started everything. But instead of whispers and judgment, she received genuine congratulations from colleagues who'd seen her transformation and been inspired by it. In her classroom, preparing for another day of teaching kindergarten, Hannah thought about the journey that had brought her here. From that freezing night at the bus stop to this moment, married, secure, loved, with Lucas thriving and a future full of possibility. Her phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "Have a great day at work, Mrs. Carter. Lucas and I are planning something special for dinner." "Love you." Hannah smiled, typing back, "Love you too. See you tonight." As her students began arriving, full of energy and chaos and the pure joy of 5-year-olds, Hannah felt profound gratitude, not just for Michael's love or the material security, but for learning that accepting help wasn't weakness, that letting people love you wasn't surrender, that building a life with someone didn't mean losing yourself. It meant becoming more yourself, because you had the support to be who you truly were. 3 months into marriage, Michael came home with news. The City Council approved the second affordable housing development, and they want you as the lead consultant. Full-time position, real salary, benefits. What? Hannah's coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Are you serious? Completely serious. They were so impressed with your work on the first project that they want you to head up community engagement for the expansion. You'd still teach. This would be summer work and some evenings. But Hannah, it's a real job, using your expertise to help shape housing policy. How much does it pay? Michael told her, and Hannah nearly dropped her coffee. It was more than her teaching salary. Combined with her teaching income, she'd finally be financially comfortable. Not wealthy, but secure. Able to save. Able to breathe. This is real, she asked, needing confirmation. This is real. You earned this, Hannah. Your work made a difference and people noticed. That summer, Hannah began her new role while still teaching. She spoke at city council meetings about what affordable housing really meant. She consulted with families about their needs. She used her experience of struggle to shape policy that would help hundreds of people. And through it all, Michael was there. Not hovering, not controlling, just present. Celebrating her successes, supporting her through challenges, being the partner he'd promised to be. One evening, sitting on their balcony, they'd moved to a house with a yard, perfect for the dog Lucas had been begging for. Hannah looked at her life and felt overwhelming peace. "What are you thinking about?" Michael asked, joining her with 2 glasses of wine. "How different everything is from a year ago. How impossible this life would have seemed then. Are you happy?" "So happy I'm almost scared of it," Hannah admitted. "Like it might disappear if I acknowledge how good things are." Michael took her hand. "It's not going to disappear. We built this, Hannah, together, and we'll keep building it day by day for the rest of our lives." Lucas appeared in the doorway with the puppy they'd adopted, a golden retriever named Apollo. "Can Apollo sleep in my room tonight?" "Sure, buddy," Michael said, "but you're responsible for taking him out if he needs to go." "Deal." Lucas disappeared back inside, Apollo bouncing beside him. Hannah leaned against Michael's shoulder. "This is everything I never knew I needed." "Same. Before you, I had money and success and nothing that actually mattered. Now I have everything that matters." "The car changed my life," Hannah said quietly. "Not just the transportation, but what it represented. Someone seeing me, someone caring enough to help, someone refusing to let me struggle alone." "You changed mine," Michael replied. "You taught me that wealth means nothing without purpose, that the best investment isn't in buildings or properties, it's in people, in love, in building something real." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. From inside came Lucas's laughter and Apollo's happy barks, the sounds of family, of home, of a life built on love and trust and the courage to accept good things when they came. Hannah thought about that night at the bus stop, about standing in the cold, feeling hopeless and alone, about Michael stopping when everyone else drove past, about the journey from that moment to this one. The car had been the catalyst, but the real transformation was internal, learning to accept help, to trust love, to believe she deserved good things, learning that strength wasn't about doing everything alone, but about having the courage to build something with someone else. "Thank you," Hannah said softly, "for stopping that night, for staying, for loving us." "Thank you for letting me," Michael replied, "for trusting me enough to let me in, for building this life with me, for showing me what really matters." "What really matters?" Michael gestured to the house, to Lucas inside, to the life they'd created. "This, all of this, not the money or the success or the things, just us, just love, just showing up for each other every single day." And as the sun set on another ordinary, extraordinary day, Hannah understood the real victory. Not the car, not the security, not even the happy ending. The victory was believing she deserved it all, was opening her heart enough to accept love when it was offered, was having the courage to build something real with someone who saw her worth, even when she struggled to see it herself. Sometimes transformation didn't come from grand gestures or dramatic rescues. Sometimes it came from someone stopping at a bus stop on a cold night and choosing to see another person's humanity, from small acts of kindness that grew into something lasting, from love built not on perfect circumstances, but on choosing each other day after day, through the easy parts and the hard parts and everything in between. And that, Hannah thought, as Michael's arm tightened around her and Lucas's laughter drifted through the open door, was the greatest gift of all. Years would pass, and the red Honda would eventually be replaced by another car, and then another. Lucas would grow into a young man with dreams of space exploration, supported by two parents who believed in him completely. The foundation Hannah and Michael built would help thousands of teachers, changing countless lives in ways both big and small. But none of that mattered as much as the lesson learned on a frozen night in Chicago when a stranger chose to see someone's humanity and stay. Hannah had learned that worthiness isn't something you earn through suffering or prove through independence. It's something you claim by having the courage to accept love when it's offered, to trust that good things can last, to believe that sometimes, just sometimes, the world can be kinder than you expect. Michael had learned that wealth means nothing without purpose, that the most valuable currency is connection, and that stopping to care when everyone else drives away is the most important choice you can ever make. And Lucas learned what family really means. Not blood alone, but choice. The choice to show up, to stay, to love, even when it's complicated. Because in the end, transformation doesn't come from grand gestures or dramatic rescues. It comes from small acts of kindness on cold nights. From someone choosing to wait with you in the darkness. From believing that every person standing alone deserves to be seen. Sometimes all it takes to change everything is one person who refuses to look away. If this story touched your heart, leave your like, subscribe to the channel and tell us, where are you listening to this message from? Your support is what allows us to continue bringing stories that remind us of our shared humanity, stories that celebrate the quiet courage of ordinary people doing extraordinary things through simple acts of love. Thank you for being part of this journey with us.